first meeting I was at, I just need it signed.
Up, Paul.
Yeah, looks, what's the date, 4th?
Yep.
Yep. Till midnight.
And then we turn into gremlins.
I'm already there. I don't need midnight.
All right, the date is December 4th, 2017. Like to open up the Water and Sewer Commission meeting. Call to order. Anybody here for the public forum? No? Okay, let's move on to the minutes. Paul?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following, well, not minutes.
Oh,
but,
warrants, yeah.
Warrants, yeah, we have some minutes coming up.
Warrants, abatements, minutes, what do you got?
First one is Austin and Propane. We had delivery from them on 11/14 for $311.83. And then we had Veolia lab testing at the Turnpike, 5 East and 6 West for April through August. Is $920, and that is a reimbursable amount from McDonald's or whomever up there. And then we have Franklin Electric for the intrinsically safe panel, $11,490. Next, we have Micronet for Peter's computer equipment, $1,313. Then we have commissioner's salary for December 2017, $500. And then Franklin Electric for grinder pump parts, $249.11. And then for work on the headworks, we owe Veolia $750, and on the Comag unit, we owe Veolia $4,685.64. And with this is a senior abatement for 45 Burlingame Road for $31.50. That's it.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Do we have this?
Oh, you need to, I'll second it.
Okay, motion second. Any discussion?
Yes,
Go ahead.
Chair. Senior abatement,
Yep.
is there a reason why he turned it in late?
No.
I just got turned in for him late. I don't know why he did, and if
It-
that would excuse him from getting the abatement?
I believe so, because it was due in July, and it's now November, and I believe it was the 28th. And if we make an exception now, what does that open us up to? So,
Mr. Chair, I believe we're only abating it moving forward. We're not retroactively abating it. So I didn't know if that made a difference. And I wasn't sure if that July date was a drop dead date for the entire year. If they miss it at that time, then they can't file any time after that.
I'm not quite sure, but I'm not comfortable doing that, but again, we're a board.
We on this board, as we sit here now, don't know the exact reason. He may have had a valid reason for not doing it, he may not have. So do you want to table this particular item for tonight until we can look into it deeper and get the reasoning behind?
I would like to.
Okay.
Fair enough. Okay. The Veolia Comag,
Yes.
did they talk about that last meeting, or is it?
This was work that was done a while ago. This is actually encumbered from last year's funds,
Okay.
that amount. So I'm not sure exactly when the work was done. It was before I came aboard. We're just finally getting the bill for it. It was for some valving for the Comag.
Is that one when the motors went
Yeah,
down
the
there?
pumps.
Yeah,
The pumps went down.
okay.
I'm assuming that's when it goes back to,
I don't know what else we've,
it's the only thing I know of recent history we did anything with Comad.
I mean, you replace the pumps, you replace the servos, and this bill is for the valves. And like I said, when you look at the encumbered amounts that you guys had saved from FY17, this was on there.
okay. Did everything look right in the bill?
Actually, it was less. You had 7,000 encumbered, and the bill was a lot less.
Okay. All right. Was that one of those when we, you weren't here, but remember right before July, we checked off like 4 or 5 things for Veolia to go ahead and do, to use up the rest of that budget?
Must have been.
Must have been one of those. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make another motion, this one to approve the minutes of our last meeting, November 20th, 2017.
Okay, we got a motion. I got a second out there.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, abstain, I wasn't here. And- All right, passes. Next, Paul?
That's it for me, yep.
Yep. I'll sign them all now.
It's not loading.
Is there anything else,
No,
Paul?
I've got nothing else.
Okay,
It's
you just signed them.
Move on.
I read it all. No, it's
Sounds
okay.
good. We just take 2 minutes, because that way everybody can focus.
Thank you.
Chris, if you wanna come up and get ready or whatever, we're just gonna sign the rest of these abatements and warrants and stuff, and it's great when it works.
Yeah.
I shouldn't do that. I'd be crying.
Start with one.
Nice. I think we're gonna share tonight.
One more, two more to go, one. Get the end of this one. Well, they're all stapled together. Well, I can break it apart.
Oh my.
There's a lot going on.
I'm like,
Need a whiteboard.
Yeah.
they have a chalkboard.
Just how your whole
What do you need?
presentation is going,
My
Chris?
book, but it's okay. What's up?
Just how your whole presentation is gonna go?
Yeah, I think we're all set.
Go ahead, Chris.
Can I speak?
Yep.
Great. Good evening, Chris McClure, McClure Engineering. First off, I heard that Norma was resigning, and that's, I'd just like to say from McClure's input, that she's been a wonderful asset to the Water and Sewer Commission, and I think as a community as a whole, so we're gonna miss you, Norma.
We got one of those robots with the faces coming in, and it just punches on the key, so she can work remotely.
There you go.
All right, so it's been a little bit since I've been in to talk to the commission, and basically here just to give an update, a status report on the latest and greatest relative to the design and the overall progress of the school loop and the pump station. We did send along a package of the boost, it was the amendment to the original BRP WS 32 permit application that Kleinfelder had sent in for the, to the DP for review of the school loop. They've sent a supplemental transmittal, it was basically the booster pump component. That's been, I'm sure you folks have had it, you at least had it sent out to you to see. So DP's has allowed Kleinfelder to submit this package in phases as they get them completed. And obviously, the impetus is to get the, the pump station advanced so they can start construction on it or start bidding it out as soon as possible for construction in the spring. So if you, from our perspective, I mean, from McClure's perspective during the review process, We've been through various iterations. If there are any modifications that the commission would like to see, and I think at this point, as far as operational maintenance, they have, originally, there was the controls for the VFDs were mounted on the pumps, which would have made it very difficult to gain access to do any repairs and maintenance on those pumps. So those controls have been mounted remotely on the walls, and they've also added a roll-up door to the backside of the pump station so that they could if need be, they could access those pumps from the from either side of the skid. There is some room in that station for any future chemical addition. And, there was discussion, so you can see the control valves, the flow meters are all pretty consistent with what, Southbridge has in the system now. And I believe the design is pretty solid for what, what's being proposed there.
Chris, you're talking about doors in the back to access the pumps. How much level ground will there be in the back, in front of those doors?
It would be enough to, run a truck or, the pump station property itself is fairly limited, so probably 10 to 15 feet to get around there.
Enough to get a truck,
Enough to get
as a forklift or something like that?
yeah, either that or a dolly, but at least you'd be able to get those pumps out and, rolled over to a truck at that point in time with a lift or something of some sort, but, so if you have any comments, and I expect, Alex may have some technical, if the commission has any questions relative to the technical components that are in the system, or even the aesthetics, now, what the pump station is gonna look like from the outside, and I do believe that we incorporated all the comments that we had previously from the commission, but if there's anything there, we really need to get our comments into, Kleinfelder, so if there are revisions that need to be made, we can get those made, and once they get confirmation from the DEP that they're okay with this design, they are looking to put this out on the streets a bit.
The only thing I see, Chris, and you tell me, well, without looking at quick, should go with propane heater instead of electric.
A propane heater, but, well, there's gonna be propane there for the generator, so
Yeah.
just,
It's a propane generator?
it is a propane generator, yes. Due to the proximity to the riverfront,
All right.
yeah, so, yeah,
They burn propane when they run,
yeah,
like a
Yeah.
lot,
right.
like a real lot.
Well, that station, typically they exercise they're on a weekly exercise, where they'll run an hour once a week, and then once a month they'll run it under a load while someone's there. So
How big is the generator? Probably like 10K, 15K?
Rob has to sign off.
25?
25? 25 sounds about right.
Warrants, oh no, you weren't here. He wasn't here. He
Okay.
wasn't here when. What size tank are they putting in then? And the only reason why I bring this up is the household one will burn 150 gallons a day. So what I'm getting at, you put 1,000-gallon tank in there, you might only get a couple days out of it.
It's gonna be 1,000-gallon tank.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, the propane generators, they burn propane.
They work well, though.
No, they work excellent.
Yeah, but that electric heater should be replaced with propane.
Yeah, that should be.
And actually, it's not likely that, with these VFDs, those controllers generate a lot of heat from the
So
cabinets.
heat's probably not gonna be.
Yeah, the heat's
a
probably
big
never
issue.
gonna come on in
Yeah.
that station.
Well, just change that anyway. I mean, it is what it is, like you said with the
Sure.
propane, unless you go with, crazy rock tanks. I mean,
Is there cooling in the VFD room for the summer?
Excuse me?
Is there any kind of cooling in the VFD,
There'll be,
MCC,
humidifier.
but no coolant, no AC?
I don't think they proposed AC in this. It might be a split,
Okay, just for that one space.
yeah.
What do you mean a
Typically what
split?
we'll do is put a split in there.
Split duct, like a Mitsubishi unit or something.
Well, then,
Oh.
you wouldn't even need heat or whatever.
I don't recall seeing that.
Well, there should be some kind of cooling for the MCC.
I
when they get
understand why
hot.
you're asking, I just
No,
don't
no.
remember seeing, I don't recall seeing the split, that's all.
Yeah.
I just saw the two heaters in the corners.
Well, then just look, Chris.
Yeah.
If, you know, I mean, the Mitsubishi, I think, is 100%, you gain the heat, so they go down, the new ones now go down to like 0, 10 degrees, I mean, it's incredible.
And they burn electricity, big time.
Yeah,
But it shouldn't, they shouldn't be needed, I guess in case it gets really cold.
So getting back to that, Chris, you're gonna put a dehumidifier in here?
Typically, they have a dehumidifier in there just to pull. But you know what, the split would do the same thing, so I'll check what that source is.
because we're only gonna keep it 50 degrees in there, it's not like you
Right.
gotta, you know, you're trying to keep it 80 degrees in there.
Right, exactly.
I know a pump house that's got two 8,000-gallon tanks butted into it and has no heat,
No heat.
never a problem. Never a problem.
But it's partially buried though.
A little bit, 3 feet, 4 feet, but it's top, 16-foot ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, typically in the pump houses, it's if you're adding chemicals, like the sodium hydroxide, it actually freezes at 55 degrees, so you need to keep it above that at all times, so. And really, it's not for operators, because they're in and out, and they're not, you know, but the panels, the PLCs, the operator interface, they like to be a certain temperature, so, as long as we keep it above the freezing mark, or
Yeah,
whatever
well, of course.
whatever needs to be, would be good.
Chris, is there a floor drain in this building?
There is a floor drain that goes to the UIC,
The UIC?
I'm sorry, the underground injection chamber. And actually, the roof drains will go to this as well. So this water is, everything, you know, this impervious is getting captured and put into an underground injection chamber for infiltration.
Is there gonna be any, like a CL-17 or anything for monitoring?
There will be an area for, there'll be an area set aside for the controls. Whether or not, that's a good question, because I don't know if at the current Mass Ave pump station, they're monitoring their chlorine residual. The UIC that we designed, was to be able to accept the waste stream from a analyzer.
Right, I remember they came up in a,
So, whether they're required to monitor the levels at their pump station, or whether we want to monitor them, that's a good question. I can look into that.
be monitoring at the incoming, I mean, it'd be a
Yeah, that's
quick,
probably a
down and
good.
dirty, see what's coming in.
Right. There is a 100-foot sample tap out of that pump station, so,
Understood, but that sits stagnant, I mean, the CL-17s and the analyzers are, you know, right there. Whose details are these? Kleinfelder's or Southbridge's?
well, the details should have come from, if you see something in there that's not consistent with.
5 feet on
Southbridge.
center from a sewer crossing to a joint? That was 10 feet.
In case.
And there's nothing noted in here about CDF. No, it still needs 10 feet of separation from joint to center line, either direction. Not 5.
I'll check those details.
And they're referring to, on the general notes in the front, it says minimum clearance between water mains and other utilities. It notes electric telephone, cable, gas, storm sewer. Doesn't say anything about sanitary sewer.
There is no sanitary sewer.
There's no bathrooms in here, is there, Chris?
No, no.
In general, it's a detail, it should show a detail whether it's pertinent or not. That's my point. If you're gonna have the details, at least have the details right. Because all they're gonna do is cut and paste these into the next set of plans. So,
Okay. Yeah, I know some of these are Southbridge's.
okay, I was just curious.
Southbridge's,
Maybe it's supposed to be storm/sewer?
Huh?
You in that little box there?
Yeah,
Maybe it's supposed to be storm, like
Detail
column
looks-
up.
I don't know, that's my
Yeah.
question.
You know what I mean? Like those two are kind of.
It's usually separated, drain's one thing and sanitary sewers something else.
I don't know why they would call it storm/sewer,
Right. But then when you go to the detail page, it's kind
you
of,
know?
yeah, it just should be a slash there. Yeah,
Slash or a comma.
yeah.
because on the detail, the water main crossing, sewer or drain, they're calling out, and that's what I was referencing to the joints.
Get your red pen out, Chris.
Yeah, I have, part of my notes is to ensure that it's gonna go through as, Southbridge.
I can give you that, I can get back these tomorrow, Red Line.
Yeah, okay.
All right. I'm in town, I can swing by and give them to you.
Last, I guess, again, the sheet. doo-doo-doo. A01, that's the facade and the roof and the exterior.
The what?
The facade, the roof lines, the
Did you say
exterior.
801?
It's page.
A01, yeah.
Okay, we were going with the brick and stuff, right?
Yeah, we just changed that,
Metal roof?
in the roof, to revise that pitch. A couple of windows, for, aesthetics.
Need to move over here.
Oh, it is here. That doesn't call what it is.
Is this one door? Oh, okay. So you got a garage door on one side and then a double man door on the other?
Yes, yeah. We started out with just a double man door, and then
Yeah.
we started talking about
No, it's a good idea.
access.
That doesn't call it out, though.
8-inch thick concrete ceiling?
Concrete ceiling?
Ceiling.
You know what, one of the things that we were looking at is trying to get away from the,
Why don't you need it?
It's a prefab building, that's the way it comes complete.
reagentless analyzer.
Oh, is it a prefab?
These
Okay.
things come on the back of a truck.
One of these reagents.
We can double check with Chris, but
It's,
I believe it's a
it's not
prefab.
eight, it's not 8 inches solid concrete.
Chris, is this, says 8-inch thick concrete ceiling? Is this just a big vault with a fake roof?
Yes, exactly.
So is it gonna be a rotundo building or
Yeah,
similar to
yeah,
it?
it's a prefab building, just gonna come in and drop it in with a crane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Slab will be done, and it'll sit on top of that, and, it'll seal it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, typically it's the, the building, it's a package, package pump station. Building, the pumps, all that will just get, comes in a big prefabricated, and they just, put it together on site.
So how they're gonna do the brick? out in,
Everything will be.
Indianapolis or somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere local, but yeah. You just give them the order, place, the color, and it'll come just like that, no, slap it,
brick and no cracks.
no cracks.
No cracks, huh?
We just put one in.
Just put one in?
Yeah. Out at the tank.
Come on the truck.
Yes, I'll scan the building.
So there is an analyzer there, it would be the CL 17, look to get away from the urea reagent analyzer, so we'll know what the
that? It's tabled.
chloramine residual coming
Disregard
Coming
those
into the
signatures.
So, just, once I receive Alex's comments, I'll be good to, put a, and finish my review. I'll be good to just put a letter, saying that we reviewed it and we're happy with the, to design the date. And, once the DEP gets back with their comments, then if they're minimal or they require some revision, they'll get those revisions done, but at that point, they'll be able to put this thing out, put it out to bid. So, that'd be good. And their schedule is that they'd like to have this, this thing under construction, by the spring.
Yep.
Whether they.
And Southbridge look at these yet?
They have, yeah. These have been back, we had a working section, to review, and that's where the input on the pulling the pumps and the operational
Yeah.
maintenance came out of that.
Now, are they doing like the same pumps they got up at the Mass Ave pump station, so for similarity and stuff, or
I
they're
don't know if
different?
they,
or-
I haven't seen, if they have Grumpus up there or not, but this is gonna be like a Grumpus skid.
Just food for thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can have commonality and,
Well, once Mass Ave pump station come offline, once this goes online,
It will, yeah.
oh,
so it's not gonna.
But on that same, train of thought, the other pump stations that go in town are gonna be similar, they're gonna come from the same, supplier. Or they'll be specs, so now they don't need to spec these out or equal, like we have to do in, municipal bidding. They can say we want, if it's all Grumpus and we want, this Grumpus skid, put together the same type of controls, same type of, building, to keep everything fairly consistent within the town. And again, if they're not, it's only gonna be two, really, it's either gonna be Grumpus or, there's only a couple of them out there as relative to booster pumps. So, I think they're using Hayes pump to do this, so it's, they're the ones that pull these packages together, so it's probably gotta be Grumpus.
He is great.
Yeah.
So the other pump station is gonna be at Baypath, is gonna be similar to this, similar in design and,
Yeah, there'll be smaller pumps,
Right.
but the overall, look and design are gonna try to maintain that consistency.
yes, same kind of computers,
Yeah,
PLCs,
yeah.
yeah.
so is there is another pump station at,
Well, that's the next
that's
discussion,
second
right?
page, okay,
Yeah,
the B section of the presentation.
sure.
So their time frame for the pump station is to be completed, I think, October, November. So they're planning on using the entire construction season, which I think works in the same time frame as the Casella extension, so. But they're carrying out, I got I think Friday, Charlie sent me a project scope of time, a timeline, and they're planning on carrying it out the entire, maybe they're just giving themselves extra time, but they're planning on going through October to have this completed. I know it seems like a long time, but.
Our system currently doesn't need this pump station, as long as Mass Ave's online.
Our system's right now working.
Right.
Yeah.
And even with the school loop, it'll work with Mass Ave, because the pressures aren't gonna change.
The price is not gonna change, it's just the actual, consumption and
The volume.
the volume.
Right.
So as the volume continues to, increase, those pumps run long, that pump station runs longer and longer, so,
When are they planning on starting Casella? This spring too?
We just received 30% design plans. Actually, they were hand-delivered today. I guess they were there when I got back to my office tonight, so, so you figure,
Yeah.
30, and they're gonna be another couple, month anyways, month and a,
Yeah.
month, 2 months before they get that
So
completed.
realistically, they could be off and running in the spring, well,
As far as that construction?
yeah.
Yeah.
They should coincide.
Yep.
I don't think that the pump station will hold up that Casella loop at all, because
Yeah, cause it'll be different companies,
there's,
different,
yes, and there's gonna be a lot of, probably unforeseens on that Casella extension that's gonna maybe catch them by surprise, so.
the only other factor is, as you are kinda engineer and overseeing and the people we have in our office, we got 15 projects going on, everybody's gonna be spread a little thin.
Sure.
What's your thoughts of combating that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as long as we keep communication open, we're gonna have somebody, we need to have an inspector on each of the projects, so that's gonna be key. Whether the inspection is gonna be, Southbridge or, and because there is that component with that Berry Corner, water line construction that Southbridge is supposed to be providing the day-to-day oversight, or actually be tie and bond at that point in time. So, so between that and, we haven't talked about East Charlton, but that's another, good news that came in the past couple of weeks, and then this pump station, these aren't that far, these aren't that far away. Once we start this school loop construction, and that's gonna,
When is, what did you call it, East Charlton? I call it the Oxbow. Is that doing this summer too?
Hopefully.
yeah, that has to go, to design, up to bid, design.
Yeah.
Once that,
But they're estimating this summer too? To do that road construction there?
well, it'd have to be within the construction season started, so, this is a municipal bid job, so this one's gonna take, probably as long as, well, we'll see what design on, this, Berry Corner Road, but, you're talking a few months of design work before it goes out to bid. It would, to get it
No,
constructed.
realistically,
Yeah, I don't,
you don't see it happening next year, or this
it would
coming up
be,
year?
you could probably start it, but I don't, to get that whole thing open on Route 20, there's gonna be a huge component there. One of those components is, any work on Route 20 requires a very comprehensive traffic management plan, and then very limited hours that are associated with that traffic management plan. You can't go in there at 7, work at 3, because you're gonna create too much of an issue. They're probably, there's certain times in certain areas, in certain roadways, they say you can't work till 9 o'clock, and then you need to be out of there by 3. So instead of a traditional,
Well, no, this is good. What I'm leaning towards is, you and Peter really give us some good thought about how we're gonna manage these projects.
so let's say, it's December.
Trust me,
now.
less projects,
January, February,
It's
I
not
mean,
good,
we have
but-
design done February, March, put it out to bid, and if there was a contract, you got 30 days to do that, March, April, start the construction, it realistically could go, whether you're gonna get that, mile of, main done on Route 20 in that period of time, it is gonna be really,
Nighttime construction?
yeah, DOT's gonna pretty much tell us how that,
Yeah.
basically tell you how that construction project's gonna run.
If I'm
Go ahead.
not mistaken, aren't they gonna do other work onto Route 20, other than just put this water line there?
yes.
Yes, that's why they want this done now. They probably want this done so it has,
So they do a
it has a
moratorium.
season to settle, and then they're gonna come through and they're gonna do the barriers all the way up through 12 and 20 as part of their 2019, 2020 project.
Okay, so that's why.
So they want this done
This
now.
would be first,
Yes.
I got it.
So it's not that there's a huge rush, but the money's there.
Yeah.
I think the sooner we do it, the better off we're gonna be. And,
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at, we haven't started looking at the, hydraulic grade lines for the 2 towns yet, whether or not,
Are we running this project, or is Mass DOT?
Let's do it.
Well, I know they would oversee it, but,
no, this grant is to the town.
okay.
It is going into the state road.
Yeah,
So-
no, I understand, no, what I'm
So-
getting
So
at,
much you have.
But
say in.
we're gonna design it, we're gonna go through with the design and the bidding process and award it, but yes, I guess Mass DOT would.
They're gonna be there on the day-to-day, but I'm getting at is exactly, we picking the contractor,
Yeah.
alright, so we're doing all the nuts and bolts, this isn't like over on 169, where we were just kinda down there overseeing it.
Yeah, well, no, they, yeah.
Cause 169 was already awarded by, I think Southbridge did it or whatever, right?
169 was incorporated into the Route 169 roadway reconstruction, so that same contractor, because he was working,
Correct.
they gave him that water project. He subbed it out to another, to
Basically what I'm
District,
getting at
yeah.
is coming, recollecting, when we had the town, the center loop done.
yes,
There's a ton more work as far as this board, you, the people.
Sure.
Than it is, what happened on 169 where other people are handling the bulk of it and we're just, making sure the information
the
is correct.
construction administration phase is much more comprehensive, that's, pay racks and
That's all
Not,
good.
not for the school loop,
not the school.
and even, Casella, no, because Southbridge is overseeing that, cause they're hiring Ty and Bond, who's gonna produce the as-built.
Right.
The school loop, Kleinfelder's gonna present prepare the as-built, and that's gonna be based on what their resident engineer or whatever type of person they have there, taking the ties and giving that information to the PE to create the as-bills. At St. Mary's Way, they don't have a resident engineer there, but they have a retired person who's familiar with construction, doing all the ties, taking all that stuff. Steve's going up there twice a day, reviewing what they're doing, taking some pictures. Southbridge is going up there every once in a while when they call for inspections, so.
Okay.
We do need to coordinate the oversight, but I think as far as, again, if we look at each individual project, Casella, I don't think we need to have somebody overseeing that entire
No, I mean,
project.
you didn't put aside a budget for that, so there's not gonna be.
I thought you recommended 20 grand.
No, that's
Well,
that's
it's-
not what happened.
Take it away, Rob.
It was 200. It was 200.
200,
It's $200,000 for oversight. That was the original budget. And then it got cut down to 20.
yeah, so Ty and Bond will be there on a day, their RE will be there on a day-to-day basis. The Charlton component won't have a day-to-day inspector.
Are we gonna be able to depend on them for weekly reports?
Yes, well, that's really what it's gonna come down to, is a review of the weekly reports. Any issues, a call to the office and get somebody over there. Any changes, I mean, we'll have that as part of the agreement. Any design changes need to be approved through Southbridge, Charlton, and, any change orders, I would expect you're gonna wanna see those come through as well. So, get a weekly report and then provide, whatever update the commission wants on a bi-monthly basis.
And the harder part's gonna be if Kleinfelder tries to do 2 crews doing that school loop. That's where it's gonna get interesting to try and keep up with both of those. Cause you're gonna have the pump station being done at 169, and then possibly 2 crews doing that school loop, so.
Well,
Oh.
do we have funding for inspection on the pump station? Of course, the pump station's coming in the back of a truck. There's not gonna be much there to inspect, other
Correct.
than the putting of the 4-foot foundation.
Well, again, it comes down to how much redundancy do you want, and what's your expectations of the engineer
Right,
overseeing
yeah.
the project to supply their own resident engineer, or whatever they put there to take the ties, make sure they have those, and we get proper as-bills done.
And all of those numbers are important, but again, the quality of the workmanship that goes into it, that's the part that's suspect in all of this work, is to make sure it's being done correctly
And
all
I
of the
think,
time.
spot checks, I think, can be pretty, good reason to just kinda keep them on their toes.
You're gonna
'cause-
do like what you do on any project, which is start hot and heavy, feel them out, see how they operate, see how they do things, and then, go from there.
The RE that they have been using, Frank Lyons, who's a retired water superintendent from the town of Leicester, so he's a local guy.
Oh, he's a good guy.
He knows his stuff inside and out, and he doesn't, he basically, it's just follow the contract, and there's any issues, he's there. So he knows it inside and out. He's the one that's been up to, you know, St. Mary's Ways, call me on, you know, any issues. He's always talked to Steve and Pete, but
The
he,
specs are there. If it's 6
Yeah,
inches of
exactly.
sand, put 6 inches of sand.
Exactly.
If it's, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
right,
That's all we ask.
Yeah, Frank's been working for Kleinfeld.
he is working, fine,
You know, so
exactly.
what's gonna happen up on the Casella loop, or whatever you wanna call it?
That'll be, tying bonds
Tying
already, yeah.
Okay,
And, well, again, I think if we ask who their resident engineer is and ensure that they have somebody that, you know, you're comfortable with, that's gonna be the key, is communication.
We can ask, we have a meeting with them Monday, the 11th.
Yeah.
We can ask them what their plan is for that, at that time.
Okay, moving on. I would like to talk about the water age analysis for the Charlton Loop, if I could.
Be able to print that in color?
Yeah.
Get that.
All right, so this is the long-awaited report that describes the
No, I've seen.
water age
for the school loop. And it also shows some scenarios here relative to what is going to be proposed. This is down at the entrance to the school here.
This shows the valving on how they're gonna direct the flow down at the school, coming out of Morton Station. So coming out of Morton Station, it's gonna head, I guess that would be east on Oxford Road.
Yep,
It's gonna go into the Heritage School driveway.
yep.
It's gonna branch off, go to Heritage School.
Where's the school on the plan?
Yeah, when we,
I got the match line. Okay, so it's gonna go down
and it's gonna
behind the
loop
school?
around, no, it's gonna, you know,
Oh, it's
that,
gonna
that
come
first
from front.
driveway branches to the left.
Yep.
Goes to Heritage School, and then takes a right and goes to the middle school. It's gonna go to the middle school, branch out around back to Oxford Road, and head north, head west up Mugget Hill Road.
So at all times, they're gonna stay in the driveway,
All times, yes, they're
even though
staying-
they could save 1,000 feet if they went from here to the end of this building, throwing a stone.
I don't know if it's, I didn't measure it,
It's
but
not far.
they're staying in the driveway, yes.
Okay.
So therefore, and even when the schools aren't in session, that water will still be flowing through that area, so there's not a dead-end area in order to get up to Masonic Home Road.
Are they tying into the old well housing on Heritage, or are they running right new to the building?
They're gonna run new to the building.
Okay.
So going back to that, we know that this, the system cannot provide for fire flows on the schools. Right, so, Heritage has their own tank, currently feeds their potable and potable and fire suppression. They'll have to maintain that, because we can't provide fire flows.
Same thing for the middle school.
Middle school doesn't have a, fire suppression system, so,
Okay.
probably the age of construction, I would expect, or
Well, the middle school's newer than Heritage.
He's got that.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry,
So the
I'm down at the
Heritage
middle
don't have
school.
one, but the middle school
Yeah,
does.
exactly. Heritage has a 10,000 gallon tank
Okay.
that's a bunker for their portable,
Yep, yep,
excuse me,
yep.
so, yeah, so, and then the middle school has 100,000 gallon, dual fire protection.
And,
Portable tank.
and they could always go over there and follow it if they needed to, if there's something going on with the school. Okay.
And there's gonna be hydrants, there will be hydrants there, so, obviously that's going to, provide for a much, better scenario, if something were to happen there. So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so originally this, the original, model came out, it was reviewed by us and also by, Southbridge Water. Heather had some issues with the numbers. Charlie from Kleinfeld, Charlie Tripp, went back, Dewberry, they took a look at their scenario, they found some errors within the model. So they fixed those, and basically what we have here is, the output tables, I don't know if you folks had a chance to review the output tables, but basically, you know, long and short of it show the analysis for various scenarios.
Yeah, there's only one area under this current model that has that long residual time of 13 days.
Right, right. So we have the two tables.
That's written on top of it, in the red.
Yeah, was.
6W.
Where are we at now?
At
So-
that table. I gave him the one table based on Charlie's
Oh, okay.
overall conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they took, and we know that H. Putnam Road line was also, you know, is you know, question whether that needs to be on or off. And so basically we have these two tables, one show the H. Putnam Road active, the other one shows H. Putnam Road inactive. And based upon the analysis, that shows the overlook facility will be connected to the loop, but the residential demand will be 50% of the total potential demand, right? So there's 100 customers there. The proposed mainline PRVs exist on Mugget Hill Road in Morton Station and are not bypassed, okay? So that means that this scenario, just hear me out on this conclusion, okay? So the overall conclusion was that when the overlook facility was connected and 50% residential demand was obtained, an overall benefit to water age throughout the existing system and the proposed system was achieved. And the activation of the H. Putnam main provided minimal benefit to the water age. The activation of the H. Putnam main actually increased water age at both the Mass Pike 6W service stop and North Side Road, which makes sense because it's short-circuiting the flow in that area, not allowing it to move towards the demand of the proposed loop, which was, we've had discussion about this in the past, right? The water ages in the school loop, however, would not be increased in time, it would be increased in times of summer recess, as there would be no demand to create movement of the water flow within their respective loops. So that's if the PRVs are on, and we're not directing flow through there. Okay, so, and you can see if you look at the retention times, because we wanted to look at this as we discussed with, the original design and how it's gonna, move along, okay? So then we have the third table, which,
I
shows
only gave
the,
him one table.
oh, you just gave him the
I
last
just
table?
gave him the last
Okay,
table,
all right,
yeah.
yeah, so to keep this, keep it simple.
Sure.
And that's really where we wanna be, is we wanna see movement through all, all the time. We've looked at, those PRVs were originally intended to reduce pressure, for some, and actually looking at the number of houses, there's only 2 of them that would be in the area where it's a concern, but they're still below the 150 PSI that Southbridge allows connections at. So we're really not, pushing the limit here without having these PRVs activated, having them bypassed. And in fact, part of what's coming out of here is why you're not gonna use them, why put that infrastructure in the ground at all? Just leave it out so we're not worried about maintenance on a structure. And we already know, having PRVs in the system, that no matter how watertight the vault is, there's always gonna be water in that vault. There's always gonna be issues with that thing, deterioration and maintenance. So, based upon this table that you're looking at now, is the removal of the proposed mainline PRVs on Mugget Hill Road and Morton Station Road, and the installation of valving at the intersection of Old Worcester Road and North Side Road, which I provided you with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of that valving, okay? Would enable movement of water throughout the Charlton Loop and promote an overall improvement to water age throughout the proposed loop, but also in the existing system when compared to the water ages for, provided for the system now. The demand developed by overlook facility would cause water to move throughout the proposed Charlton Loop and provide improved water ages even at the furthest most extents, the schools, even when the school demands were not present. So, basically, this is the best case scenario to limit the need for blow-offs during, summer periods.
So Chris, with this scenario, just quick overview, the directional flow starting at the intersection of the former Southbridge Savings Bank.
Yes,
and
Alex has
Worcester
that
Road,
plan.
okay?
Yeah.
All right, so then it's gonna go down by the schools. When you get to that area to where the two PRVs were proposed, when the initial laterals are connected, are people going to be given a pressure-reducing valve for the inside of their home?
They'll be required to have one, yes.
In that, would it be set at what, 90 pounds?
Usually 80.
Usually 80? Yeah. Okay, so it's gonna take the in fact, the highest down there is not 150, it's like 135?
Yeah, 130, 135.
Okay, so that will reduce it, so no one's gonna have their shower heads blown off their
Typically,
pipes.
anything over 90 PSI, all your plumbing fixtures are only rated for 80.
Okay,
So they're gonna
Right.
put a PRV in line after the meter.
all right, so it's in line, and that's gonna be part of the installation.
Yeah, that'll be part of.
Okay, and the homeowner's not gonna have to bear that.
That'll be part of that connection, if
Okay.
people tie in
Okay.
and wanna tie in.
But it's theirs moving forward,
Okay, right.
it's not the
Right.
town's.
Yeah, once it goes through the meter, then it's.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So now, let's turn this whole thing back to coming up Stafford Street. Is AF Putnam, it's AF Putnam, right? Is that gonna be turned on?
Yes.
But the problem is 6W in Northside Road.
Right.
Did they do the analysis with that not being turned on?
They did,
Okay,
yeah.
and what do they got then?
Well, basically what they're saying is, yeah, they're gonna, if it's off, the results show you get better movement
Get better movement.
right in those areas,
Okay.
north side of 6W, because of the short circuiting. But H. Putnam was there to alleviate pressure on that pump station when the
Okay,
new
okay,
tank goes online.
So, that's one of those things that we should have it on, we shouldn't have it on. Have it on, don't have it on.
Yeah.
So it's really gonna depend, once it gets up and going, what the results are as far as.
What works better, yeah.
Exactly, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I think that, get the design, get that line installed based upon,
Because
unless,
you have the option, right?
you always, you have
Oh,
the
yeah.
option, unless you get connections on that road. Once you get connections and that thing goes online, it's online.
It is, but but hopefully you're gonna valve it so you can shut it off and then return them coming down the hill. And then once a week, open it up to flush it out.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a potential.
It's just a maintenance thing, it's a
Yeah.
pain in the butt,
Right, right.
but it's better than having 16 days at 6W.
Well, there's no 16 days.
Yeah, no, it's,
13.
Was it
yeah,
13?
Yeah,
All right,
Which
so
is
what's-
consistent with-
What's 48 hours?
Those 13 days is, well,
It's not even a good weekend, but go ahead.
it's almost 20%,
Yeah,
but it's consistent. 6W is always at that. If 6W wasn't at 13 days, there was two other areas at 13 or 14 days, so.
but 6W today is like a half an hour. Because the fill pipe is right there and the tank is
No.
right there.
No, because it's not one in, one out. It's,
Six-
6W is longer than that.
6W today is longer than that.
Yes,
It's one pipe to the tank, right?
yes.
The main feed comes out of Southbridge and goes
Yes.
up Stafford Street.
yeah,
When it goes up Stafford Street, down J. Hammond Road,
yeah,
okay, just before it gets to the tank is 6W.
right.
So how can you tell me that water's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah.
not
I
the
thought
freshest
it
water in
was
the
on
place?
side of the town.
I'm not 5E,
Not 5E.
5E takes a ride, we know that,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
still decent water.
Right.
I mean, what did they have for a time on 5E?
5E.
I- I-
Does 5E come off of that transmission line? Or does it come off the
5E loops around.
5E comes all the way down Route 20, down the hill, goes by Teddy's and then
Then
out
out.
20. And the good news for 5E is we now have 30, 40,000 gallons of water a week being dropped off at Treehouse, which again helps to keep that water moving.
It's only one.
Isn't it? Is it right here?
No. I don't know, we didn't know, that wasn't in there,
What was
that
it?
wasn't in there. I mean,
5E? No, But we know the water's good. Yeah.
I was talking to Heather and Steve last week, and I sent Charlie a letter, an email, trying not to just totally mess everything up. But I asked him if we were to take our pump, our tank, and redesign it for our current system, either replace it, change it, alter it, do
Or
whatever.
put a huge airbag in it to take space.
So go take direct to flow, Stafford Street, H. Putnam, one way into our tank, one way out. From our tank, you do your legs to 5E, 6W, and the school loop. What would that do for water age?
Yeah, but there's only one pipe in the tank, right?
No,
Okay,
you can
we
split
could
them
add a
outside the tank. but-
For our tank, just add a line to Route 20, so it's one in and one out, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
what goes in the tank has to come out. And that way,
That's what I'm saying, there's only one pipe to a tank. Is there not? On the tank?
well, you can
side?
have a dedicated in and a dedicated out, so so the water doesn't just get stuck in the tank and bypass it when it's not needed, when it's getting fed from the pump.
How would you install that on an existing tank?
I'm trying to figure
You'd retrofit it. That's why I said we're gonna retrofit our tank to be designed to work for the system as it's being configured now, instead of how it was designed. You have to change the size.
But the
'cause
water's gonna go where the demand is.
No,
we're gonna feed our tank, and then our tank is gonna just be the feed for the rest of the town.
Right.
Just, you know, what you're saying is that where the tank is now, you could even leave that tank, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna add a pipe to it, to where it would be an exit pipe. So you have an inline and an outline, and the outline comes in, then it goes to Route 20 in a certain direction, which wouldn't be down the hill. Because what's coming up the hill,
Yes, sir.
you're gonna let it reverse back with gravity.
No, it would be down the hill.
But if the demand is such on that so-called exit pipe,
Yeah.
it's never gonna make the fill to the tank.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, Alex. And the thing is, but with the pack system we've got in there, I don't think aging is gonna be a problem in that tank. Even though it's a large tank, 785,000 gallons, and I think.
You don't have the elevation you don't get the elevation for the pressures if you don't fill it up. That's the
No, I
problem with
understand
that
that,
tank.
I understand that. I think, what do we have, a 7 or 11-foot operation,
Yeah, but you need the base below that to get the height, so you have the elevation.
I understand
for
that,
the
and that's why
pressure.
we have the pack system, to take the water that's on the bottom, so it doesn't stratify
It's a
and keep it all
passive
mixed.
mixing.
Hmm?
It's a passive mixing system.
Passive?
Mixing.
No, it's a pack system, PAX.
Right.
It swirls, it makes a vortex.
Right, it's a passive mix system.
Okay.
That's what I'm telling you it is.
But for
Roy.
us to use our tank, you have to do a void for probably the bottom 10 feet and use the top or middle 12 to 15 feet to get the gallonage you need with the pressure you need based on the elevation. That's the problem with our tank.
Just fill it up with concrete.
No, a tank's it's 1,011 is the altitude. And I think we need to, the bottom you can run it is at either 996 or 997.
Which is 10 feet operate, 10 or 11 feet operating range.
Right. And the thing is what was proven to us with the Southbridge water, where they didn't have a mixer in their system, that their tank stratified. That's why we could never get zero,
But the problem with our tank is for you to get the elevation in our tank to get the pressures you need,
yeah,
you're gonna have 500,000 gallons in there, which won't give you enough
Exactly.
turnover. They won't, we're only using 100,000 gallons a day. They will not let you do that.
but when we put these people online, we're gonna be doing way more than 100,000 gallons a day. And I agree, our tank shouldn't go online till we're at 230, 250. That's when it's gonna have to go online. It can't go online once the school loop is done.
If you do a redesign that takes away all of your water quality concerns and get a tank that operates correctly with the system that we currently have and gives you the ability to grow off of it from here, why wouldn't you just include that now? And we use the tank that's there, we use that area, redesign it and use it so it makes sense and works. Take the J. Hammond Road tank offline and let our tank just be the one place that just then spider webs it from there.
I would say, Peter, not knowing future development, that new tank that we build and cultivate just to service 200,000 gallons we could grow out of that in 6, 7 years.
No, again, it's not, it's 450 to 500 versus 750, and it's elevated, so you get the pressures you need, so it works with our system. I'm not saying build a 200,000 gallon tank, I'm just
Yeah.
saying build a tank that's representative of what we have and what we're gonna have in the future. A 750,000 gallon tank, and again, based on what we wanted for the future back in 2003 was what we needed, and we're not even there. I mean, I was looking at paperwork today, and they anticipated Overlook was gonna be at 78,000 gallons a day in 2005. It's 2017, and they're at 40. So I think we need to really look at what we have and plan for what we anticipate, but plan for realistic anticipations, and just make it work. And again, it's gonna come down to dollars and cents and what works, but I think because of the location of that, if you feed our tank from H. Putnam Road, one way in, our tank, and whatever goes out from our tank has to come in, it seems to make a lot better sense. So the residual time from our tank to 6E to 5E to Overlook, they're all gonna be about the same, because they're all gonna travel about the same distance. And some of the flows, actually, the flows are probably pretty consistent from one to the other. But again, I asked them, because for them to model it and just kind of push the buttons on the computer is a lot easier than us to try and just kick it around. So whether they do it or not, I don't know. I just asked the question.
I think we're just gonna have to wait and see and then play with the thing when the time comes.
But-
And we deal with making sure that we keep an eye on the water age and tweak whatever we have to tweak to make it work.
But
But
based on Charlie's his overall conclusion, like Chris was saying, in that sheet that I just passed around, the only site that has anything over than like an 8-day residual is 6W. Everything else is 7, 8, or 9. So the water quality, based on what they've done for directional flow at the center of town at North Main Street, Masonic Home Road, and down by the schools, works for everywhere but 6W.
yeah, just shut off H. Putnam Road and 6W be fine.
He didn't, no, because he didn't say that, otherwise he would have
No,
recommended
well,
that.
again, he needs to spend a little more time in town.
But-
It's the only way you're gonna get fresh water to 6W, is to shut or butterfly or butterfly that, so that you get less water going there and more water going to Northside Road. Because Northside Road line is huge, it's a 12 inch. I think at one time it was 58,000 gallons between the tank and out to the corner of Route 20. It's a ton of water.
Right, but I think if you do that, then the water age goes up everywhere else. That's why he kinda just left it the way it is, Rob, so.
I don't know.
I know you think that there's enough there to just completely suck it through and not have an issue at 6W anymore, but I think you create other issues that's why
You're gonna
he
affect
ended up
it
where he
equally
is.
on the other end if you start,
so.
it's the lesser of all the evils.
And yeah, I think this was reviewed by Dewberry as well, right? This
Yeah.
wasn't just Kleinfelder, because Heather asked that Kleinfelder talk about it with Dewberry and kinda get a second opinion on what he was giving us.
Peter's a great engineer, but Peter's been looking at this for, 5 years now? A while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's been commissioned to really, this is the first time he's been commissioned to,
Yeah.
to run it,
Yeah, yeah,
to get to the point where we're at now, so.
yeah, I think we're close.
Yeah, I think it's, again,
It's
a
doable.
non-conventional, look at this situation, you don't expect it, to have to go this way, but, the way that the system currently is, and the way what we're proposing now, I think it'll work.
Now, are they depending or relying on us to approve this concept?
No, but if you recall, we were looking at the school loop without directional flow.
Yeah.
So we basically do want, a buy-in to this concept. I think the buy-in was all along, you guys saying, we can't be blowing off water.
No, we can't design a system that's gonna cost us money on June, July, and August, and September.
So the key for us was to get the buy-in from the engineers and model to say, yes, we're gonna go in and do a directional flow for this system, and the model states that it is going to provide a benefit, the benefit that, you know, we're looking for, and that's, turnover during the, summertime.
They are planning on directing flow with valves. I know you were asking that last time.
Yeah, but I mean, they're calling out gate valves, and gate valves isn't a way to throttle flow. I mean, there's other means and methods. They have throttling valves.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Specifically,
to,
'cause-
operationally, we're gonna have to figure out what
Right.
they're proposing in there.
I mean, that's one note I see at, one of the intersections, and
The
it just
intersection.
doesn't, North Main and Masonic.
North Main, yeah, Sonic Home and
And it's
Woodstock.
not what gate valves are designed to be, or butterflies for that matter. They make other things for that.
And just so you're aware, I think we have had that discussion, that line going up Masonic Home, which currently is stubbed at a 12, is going down to an 8-inch, because
There's no need.
no need to have it any larger than that. Feet going up to Masonic would be that, but they're not gonna be using it for fire protection. And if there's any, use that is ever developed beyond that, that 8-inch is gonna provide for as well.
Isn't it a little short-sighted for the simple reason that, they got 456 acres there. And if there's gonna be any future, I guess, growth relative to either 55 or 65 and over, it's certainly gonna be there. So why not put the 12-inch up to their doorstep? Cause it's not a situation to where you've got a volume of water that's gonna get stale, cause they use 40,000 gallons a day.
What would the potential build-out be? You're never gonna get fire protection there,
Because of,
because of the hydraulics of the system, you can't make.
because you're,
There's no pump station.
correct, but but they could put their own pump station in as long as they knew that when they turned it on, they had 30 pounds of pressure in a 12-inch line versus 30 pounds of pressure on an 8-inch line. That would put them hydraulically better off. They'd have over twice the water in a 12-inch versus an 8-inch.
That, I don't believe that even if they put fire pumps, no, the system can't supply fire flows, even if they put fire pumps in there. So they need their own reservoir in order to do that. They
What,
need
because it's
their own
gonna be
tank.
too much of a negative on the rest of the system?
Right, yeah, the system just can't supply it. So, can't supply 1,000 gallons, but 1,000 GPM. So,
If they wanna do that, they can run a 12-inch line off of Route 20 and come up Masonic Home Road and hit their property halfway down from there, cause that's where they're gonna expand.
Yeah, but still, you know, would there be enough supply?
oh, I mean, with that 8-inch loop, they could double their capacity now, provide 80,000, 100,000 gallons of water per day with an 8-inch line. We just don't want them to, you know, the key, and we know this to be true, is that the system can't supply that type of fire flows that they need, so we don't even wanna
Okay.
think that they're ever gonna get it, just, it isn't gonna happen unless something, you know, changes drastically.
So if they do it, they don't need a pump station.
We don't know yet.
Well, we still have the question about the transits,
The pressure changes.
the fluctuation.
Hasn't it slowed down?
Well, it has, Kleinfeld has not been back out to put his, transducers out there. But, one of the things that I wanted to circle back on is, Beta had done the hydraulic model, and I don't know if they came and presented that model, to you folks. That would be helpful in, Dewberry's got a model here, Beta's got a model here. They should, at some point, be able to align themselves with one another and say, because I know, and I don't know where we went with that Beta, but I know they put a jumper line in that doesn't exist. So for some reason, Dewberry can get their model calibrated, and Beta can't. We need to see where that disconnect is. So, you know, there's.
I'm sorry, I'm just shaking my head, that's okay.
It's just, so I'd like to see I'd like to my knowledge, they did an additional round of fire flow testing that you folks approved. We should have that fire flow test. We should have that data so that it can get sent to Kleinfelder and Dewberry.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought there was work done to address the PRV that's on Route 20 halfway down the hill.
There was, yes.
And at the same time, when after they did that, I thought someone did a test to where they opened the hydrant up by the tank, okay, so that they would be like, that's like the relief valve.
Right.
And then they checked for the flutter, and the flutter was almost non-existent.
So, the PRV vault was rebuilt. When they went in there and looked at it, so there's an 8-inch PRV and there's a 4-inch PRV. The 8-inch had a dampener on it, the 4-inch did not. When they went in there to do the rebuild, they were like, well, the 4-inch is doing all the work because you have the flow going down to Charlton City is minimal. So the 8-inch is sitting there with a dampener not doing any work. The 4-inch that doesn't have a dampener is doing all the work, unless you had some sort of fire flow down. So what they did was they replaced the 8-inch and the 4-inch, they put dampeners on both, okay? So now you're getting that dampening. In addition to that, they put a air relief, vacuum relief valve on the hydrant at the base of the road, the access road for the tank,
Yep.
okay? But the pressure transducers were not sent out to review that change.
So what are we waiting for?
We're waiting for Kleinfeld to get back out there with their pressure transducers to see that. But here's the thing, so we have fire flow testing, but we haven't gotten back. We need that from Beta. I need their fire flow tests.
All right, Peter.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we can take that and show, give it to, because this calibration between the two, Dewberry seems to have theirs nailed down, and I don't know what's happening on the Beta side of it. We get the data, and that transducer goes in, which they were concerned because of the cold weather, but there's not cold weather now, so if Charlie can get that thing on there, that's his goal, is to get that on there and look and see if the transients have, quieted down, for lack of a better term.
Does that have a recording device on it?
It does.
Alright, so you don't need to sync it up with a tele-log on the other side?
No, it just records it, and then you go and pull it off and download.
So you can record, you can download when it dumped and at what pressures and so on and so forth?
Exactly, yeah,
Okay.
10
How many
seconds and
times?
1 second
Yeah,
intervals or
right.
whatever we need, so.
So then, for the record, we are now waiting on Kleinfelder. Town of Southbridge and the town of Charlton is done. We're good.
Well, yeah, we don't know if those transits are still out there, and whether or not they're working on the, those designs for that booster pump station, but, I expect to hear back and get your report on that. If the transients are there, bottom line, pump station's gonna be required. And that's the direction they're going, is get a pump station on Masonic for the overlook and for, Bay Path.
Separate pump station.
Yes,
Yeah, well,
exactly.
I mean, I think everyone here understands why the need is at the Bay Path. Masonic Home has their own pump station within their own network
Right.
currently.
Yeah,
And when water is delivered to them, they will still continue to use their pump station because they need it at 70, 80 pounds of pressure. And there's no way we could ever get water delivered to them at that pressure unless there was a pump station that was supplied. Now, taking the elevation of the Hammond Hill tank, I believe that it operates on about a 6-foot differential. I think the
Yes.
bottom is 996 or 994. Knowing that the surveyors did a survey and GPS up at Masonic Home, at Masonic Home's inlet, where they currently receive their water now from their own tank, is when you do those elevations and figure out the differential, is what should the water pressure be using science going from that 996 to where Masonic Home is?
so.
How are they not just designing both?
They are. That's what
Okay,
they
so
do.
what's the problem?
There's no problem.
Okay, so why are we talking about it? I'm just throwing it out there because,
The thing is why we're talking about it is because there's a problem in our system currently, because we got this reverberation going on. and that
Well,
needs to get out of
that's a
there.
separate problem.
Well, no,
But
that's,
that's been reduced quite a bit. I think what Chris is saying is the pressure is so close for Masonic Home to have 30 PSI or 25 PSI at the inlet of their pump, that if there's a 5 PSI pressure
Yep.
variance, it's not gonna have enough water. So when you put your backflow preventer in and you do all your other stuff going up to that pump and you lose pressure there, if you have 25 to 30 PSI at the road, I believe their pump station is 10 feet higher in elevation from the road to where it has to go to get up on their property.
Double check, or a RPZ is gonna reduce it by 10 to 15 PSI.
Well, they have some that are less, but the tolerance is so tight that it doesn't,
you-
no one has been able to definitively, I just go back to who's putting a stamp on this thing, and it's not me. So if you're telling me you don't need a pump station, then those pumps blow up because they're cavitating, because you don't have the required pressure, then, people aren't gonna be happy. Based upon what we're seeing there with, unless we had, and we've never had consistent pressure in town, where it's saying, you know, it's a 60, it's staying there. We're having swings, if it's 10 PSI and you're at 20 and it drops to 10, your pumps are cavitating and you're not, during a period of high demand, you're gonna have, catastrophic issues there. So,
That's gonna come back on us for not supplying enough pressure to them.
exactly.
Right.
So you give them a pump station, it's always there. They need it sometime, they don't need it all the time.
I got the W question. Whose pump station? Whose?
Their pump station,
So it would belong to, just like Bay Pass would belong to Bay Pass?
yes.
And this would belong to Masonic Home?
Based upon discussions that have been had at the commission in the past, I've always, directed client for this, these are not, and the individual property owners, these would never be owned or controlled by the town does want anything to do with them. You'll have to have an operator.
Who maintains them and operates them?
They do.
Bay Path is gonna be forced to maintain and find a contractor to come in and maintain the pump station?
Yes.
You guys are all willing to put that cost on the school?
You mean rather than the users? Because that's who's gonna pay for it. If the school doesn't pay for it, the user's gonna pay for it. Chris, is any consideration, this is Plan C, to using the atmospheric tank that Masonic Home already has up there as being the supply tank that's filled by public water? And then they take the water from the tank that they're currently using, that they've used now for the last 30 years?
Well, I think first and foremost, that the 30 years is an issue, because probably, who wants to maintain that tank's got a service life. So I think the cleanest and easiest would be to just get a pump station that feeds at the base of that hill, provides them with 60 or 70 or 80 PSI.
Why couldn't you add another bigger pump station down in that plateau and boost the pressure up in the center of town? That would boost the pressure up in Masonic Home.
Added cost, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, what are we talking?
Maintenance.
And the other thing is all you're talking about is a booster, you're not talking about, filling a reservoir, so you're just talking about pumps that run continuously that the town would have to maintain. Just more operation and maintenance. And in reality, in previous discussions up until, recently, where the town potentially becomes a consecutive water system, that's not the way Southbridge would wanna operate a system. They don't, you let individual homeowners, when you get to those pressures, put a booster in, it becomes less liability for the operator at that time. And really, it'd be very difficult to boost what you need at Masonic Home, second and, third floor. That booster pump would be running,
Okay.
it'd be nonstop. It wouldn't be a VFD, it wouldn't be anything, that it would just be, because they're running 24/7 out there, with the hospice and everything else, they're always going.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, should we be putting a time limit on these people to get this information completed? This has been going on for, it seems like to me, for years. Not months, years. It's the same question.
Well, I wouldn't say years, I would say that, based upon the agreement between the town and the ExxonMobil, there's been a lot of advancements. This situation that they've run into isn't a situation, these transients they're not common for every water system. So what you're doing is saying, hey, we're putting this back. The problems with our water system are now on you, which, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, these, you know, chasing these transients isn't something that everybody does. It's not something we can just look at and say, oh, this is the answer to it. It's, okay, PRVs, you talk to the individual, there are companies that, you know,
I think though what Ms. Lemancey's getting at is we can shorten the time frame. You don't need 3 weeks, you know, in between when people talk or something's done. You know, things can get done in a week and 2 weeks. You and I both know
so let's go,
it takes 2 weeks to talk to you, then they gotta go to Dewberry and it's 2 weeks, and then it comes back to you, it's 2 weeks. What I'm saying is they can close the loop a little faster if they wanted to.
let's go to the scenario where the modifications to the PRV haven't addressed the transients. So what happens then? You got 40, 50, 60 PSI swings within the town, which we've had. You tell them to deal with it. It's a difficult situation because it's an issue with your own system that's.
Well, I think what we're asking them is to give us their expertise, and then monetary value or whatever, we can all figure it out from there. But what we're asking is them to use their resources and dig into it. They're not even, I don't wanna say they're not digging into it, cause they are. But, don't you agree with that? At least present us a problem, you know, and a possible solution, and then we can figure out how to address the solutions.
I think their solution to it is to, listen, boost where we need to boost, and whatever you guys have with your swings, or what you have with your swings, is really not our problem. But ideally, there is that potential for whether you need a pump station or not, and is it worth us trying to review resolving that or not, or can it be resolved? You know, is it just gonna be something, the way that this system is set up, that you're gonna see these reverberations within your water system? And if that's the case, it's just, you know, those swings that you have to deal with.
Just a thought, okay? As far as the Charlton system goes, I'm talking about our Charlton pipes. We only have one moving part, which is that PRV valve on Route 20. I would suggest this as a test to determine exactly where the problem is when the water gets to the top of Route 20, the pinnacle, it's almost right by your office.
Yeah.
Is there a shut-off valve there?
There's an inline valve, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So at 2 AM in the morning, you shut that off. There's enough water in that Route 20 12-inch pipe going down that hill to provide whatever water people need for the next 2 hours. Now what we've got is you've got that one moving part that's now has been extracted from the system. Then go up to the hydrants up at the center. Go up to, well, you can't go to Masonic Home, but go to the other areas and then do your testing and see what you got for reverberation after you wait 45 minutes or an hour and a half to let the whole thing settle down. See if it settles down. If it settles down, then now you've taken half of your town and written it off as saying, we have no problem here, this works fine, and this is what the pressure is based on an elevation at the J. Hammond tank, and you do the math out, and they should match. If they match, then you say, fine, this is great. Then what you do is you end up having to do what you need to do. If it means tearing that whole thing out and replacing it with PRV, then that's what you do. But that,
And that's on the assumption every valve that's supposed to be open is open, and every valve that's supposed to be closed is closed?
whatever it's supposed to be. I
That's
don't
a
know,
big
Alex, but
assumption.
again, it's, I'm not a water system guy. All I'm just
Well,
using
you
is
sounded
some-
like one.
all I do is use some logic. I do own a water system, I have paid for a water system, and the thing is it seems like there's a lot of basic concepts.
Well,
The
so,
only thing with doing that at that time of day is it's not representative of actual usage when you
Right.
have the transient pressures.
Here's what they found out from the testing, this thing goes like this all the time. All the
Even
time.
throughout the night?
All the time.
yeah, and let me tell you, shutting this thing down in 2 hours, it's incompressible fluid, it doesn't stop like that. It goes this way, it goes that way, it'll
Open a few
take
hydrants,
days,
it'll
take
slow down.
days.
Open a few hydrants, it'll slow down.
And then you still gotta recharge that line you drained
Well, that's why you got, that's why you got a 200,000 gallon tank.
Sure.
So if I can get, I mean, I'll talk with Charlie, there'll be things happening, I can, you know, get in on your, January agenda, and I'm sure that,
Well, this is the second revision we've seen on this also in the last 3 to 4 weeks, so
Yeah.
it's not like he's just worked on this for a week and gave it to us. This has probably been 2.5 to 3 months worth of work.
This is major movement.
Yeah,
They were never in agreed with directional flow.
we went from 90 to 91%. This is huge movement.
Yeah, yeah.
no, I mean, this is, the system is challenging, and basically what you've done here, you know, it's not as, you know, from a layperson, that, you know, it's asked to do something like this is non-conventional. You would never design like this, but, you know, you have to look at this.
To the one defense of all parties, you've caught some fundamental flaws in the original design that really, if it was installed originally, we would be facing some serious problems. So,
Yeah,
so we're addressing some serious problems
right.
in
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah, and me in conjunction with you folks, everybody's working knowledge of this, and we've been lucky because we have had,
So that's the good part.
Yeah.
The bad part is, we need to expedite the time a little bit. I mean, when do they plan on having this wrapped up? They need to get this stuff, what, the end of January?
yeah.
I mean, final drawings, bid's gonna go out in February.
So just so you know where we stand, the BRP WS 32 for the water lines is complete, and it's approved by the DEP.
Okay,
So this reconfiguration
okay,
we're talking about is really not, is not much of an issue. They're ready to bid this with the exception of the booster pumps.
okay,
Booster pumps being Masonic and, Bay Path.
okay.
So they have approval from the state. This was the biggest thing here, I mean, and just some valves there, so this can go out, and I know that they've been vetting, you know, contractors, I know they have the folks that they wanna put this out to.
Okay.
So, I'm assuming that this isn't really, this could go out and they could start construction on this water line.
Okay,
Just to be clear, Chris, this construction is being paid for and also is being put out to bid by ExxonMobil.
Yes,
And when I say put out to bid, is they don't follow the state bid laws like we
No.
would have to follow
Correct.
for the Casella thing.
Yeah.
So they're putting out to bid is calling up 3 different large contractors and say, we have chosen you 3 to go and put your best foot forward, and we'll determine who's gonna get the bid, and they don't follow any of the rules.
right,
Okay, and that can happen, they can do that and take 10 days,
yeah,
not what it would take us 2
well,
months.
it's gonna take even
Oh,
a
no,
team
no.
of bidders some time to go through this
Sure.
and bid it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, it's not the state, it's not our town process, but there's still some legwork in,
They have unit price contractors. They
Right.
call up, they come right, they're all pre-approved.
I
they're all-
understand that, but what
Yeah,
I'm getting
yeah.
at is it still takes some time.
yeah, this is, you know, this is they are in the process of doing that, they have their contractors getting lined up, making sure they meet the stringent ExxonMobil, you know, requirements, and they haven't told me if they're out to bid, but I'm assuming that if they're vetting those, and they're getting ready to send this stuff along. The contract docs are done, they've all been submitted to the DEP, for all the water lines. For the pumps, for Route 169 pump station, the only 2 that are hanging out there, for the, you know, skater and the mixers. The only 2 that hang out there right now are the 2 remote pump stations.
Is St. Mary's Way done yet?
Friday.
Okay, so it's taken 2 weeks to run 1,000 feet of 4
Different,
Oh, no, that's
that's
no,
a
no.
different contractor that'll be
Okay.
doing this job.
You're talking the tortoise.
Well,
It's a different
and where I'm
contract.
about to go with this is, we got only so much money for oversight at $100,000 a year for 3 years. If they take, you know, buku time,
One 169, they were putting in 600 feet of 16-inch pipe in a day. The ditch
understand
diggers,
that.
when they get there,
The big boys.
they do not wanna be, they don't wanna be in this town. They're gonna move to
I
the next one.
understand that, but
Yeah.
it's not, it's the engineering company that's done it. Kleinfeld is with the safety protocols and everything else that don't.
I think,
How they structure it is whether this thing runs at a rabbit's pace or runs at a turtle's pace. We're seeing that over in St. Mary's Way. You telling me Sin doesn't know how to dig 1,000 feet a day? Of course
they're
they do.
actually, yeah, it's not actually Sin that's doing it.
Oh,
it's
whoever.
something there. But you're right, yeah.
But this is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I deal with or anybody or, it's,
If, to your point, if the loop went in as fast as that, yeah, it would be a 5 or 6 or 7 year process through the construction season. But that won't happen.
I hope it don't, because we don't have any safeguards in place. There's no deadlines, there's no nothing.
I have a question,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Pissing me off.
Chris, how are you getting paid for the work you're doing right now?
I submit bills to the town, and the town submits them to Exxon.
Under what fund heading is that money coming from?
I don't
Is
delve
that-
into
is that
that as long
coming
as I
from-
get
from-
reimbursed and.
Just the reimbursement factor, or is it coming, or is the project now started and we're now chipping away at the $100,000 a year limit?
I assume it's part of their, review.
This should still be designed.
No,
Yeah,
ExxonMobil's paying you direct.
no, they don't, they actually,
Wasn't that the last email? They asked if they could pay you direct.
yeah, but we can't set it up that way. I have to get paid through the town, because I'm a contractor to the town, not through them. So
But
that's,
this is not coming out of that $100,000. It better not be,
Chris, no.
because he's the one submitting the bills and talking with Robin.
But he's not writing the check to himself.
Well, I'll follow up on that.
yeah, so basically I put an estimated budget to the commission approves it, that goes to Robin, she gets it approved through whoever she needs to go to. Then when I write up the bills, I send them to the town submits them to whoever they get to, and then it
Yeah.
comes back and I get paid.
So that 100,000 is for oversight, not design. This is all design. Yes, we've had this talk 17 times.
Okay.
I'm not making it 18.
So it's design,
Yes,
okay, and they're responsible for design.
absolutely, 100%.
They haven't, I forwarded them a bill the other day.
Yeah, no, they've been.
I'm not trying to start a fire.
I'm just trying to
ask a
understand
question.
where the concern's coming from, because again, Chris sent a bill, I forwarded it to them, and the next day they asked where to send the check, so.
Very good.
It's been a smooth process, that's why I'm sitting at your meeting right now.
It's a good way to end.
Okay, glad we know that. Glad we know that. Thank you.
Well, they also changed engineers too, right?
Yeah, Charlie's been great.
Exactly. I know you've said that. It's been,
I-
he's been very good, very
Yeah.
on top of things. I don't wanna discredit Kleinfelder or ExxonMobil, but it's just, I know there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I mean, we have, we can't just go put a, transducer on a hydrant either, it's not that easy, it's gotta get approved, and so it's not like.
Oh, it is that easy. It's just,
Yeah, it's a process, there's no, so,
you just gotta shave the middle weeks out.
okay,
So you just about wrapped up?
I'm wrapped up, yeah.
Okay, look, I got a question for him, is, Jones Road. Jones Road, is it Jones Road? Yeah.
Jones or
On the backside of Cook's Farm.
backside.
Where they've got hits on MTBE.
Gould
Road?
School
Oh, Gould
Road.
Road, sorry.
Cemetery
It's
Road.
right next
yeah.
to Jones Road.
Yeah,
Okay. I talked to one of the homeowners today. The latest hit is over 50.
PPB.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I know it's not 70.
historically, that goes to the Board of Health, and the Board of Health submits it to the DEP. I mean, that's typically what would happen, I would expect.
Supposedly, they've now drawn a new 500-foot circle
Oh.
for testing. Is that correct?
I haven't heard.
The problem is, it's not gonna hit anywhere. Cause
Oh, because there's nothing there.
The next one is when you hit onto Jones Road, which, across the train tracks.
Yeah.
it- You know, that person who lives right there in that house almost needs to do one.
You come down Cemetery Road,
Take a left on Gould,
take a left on Gould.
Before the Coptic church, you
Oh.
take that left and
Yeah.
it goes, cuts over.
then you go to the bridge, take a right, and it kinda loops back around, but draw a line.
Right.
It'd be very
I'll
hard
tell
for
you,
us.
you go the way the crow flies, it's not that far to those houses that face the
Once you could
field.
jump that line, if it did, then it would be pop, 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 pop. All the way, you know, the houses are clustered right up through there. But it's,
But my point is, it's going up.
Yeah, I mean,
Frustrating for the homeowners over there.
I'd imagine and so they get their data, they submit it to the, I mean, who's sampling?
Kleinfeld.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So obviously they're monitoring, they're
They're
on,
monitoring,
Yeah.
in fact, I think they prepping 2 of the houses to put systems in.
and those usually come through as a monthly sampling reports too, right, from Kleinfelder to you guys? or-
It's part of FES's,
Yeah.
monthly
Oh,
report
okay.
for, 6W.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
None of those samples that they've taken over there in the last year were in any of the reports the Board of Health had. I went to the Board of Health and they couldn't find them, and then finally, I guess they made some phone calls and, they're now getting them. And again, it was kind of surprising, maybe it was just a mistake on their part about not putting it in there, but it wasn't in there. You know, how we get the reports
Right.
each month about, around,
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
the
those
school.
are the ones I'm referring to, I didn't, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, no, it's not on those reports.
okay. Anything else, Chris?
Nope.
The
Thank
East,
you.
the East Charlton extension, we'll probably have more for you coming up in January, when Chris
Yeah.
comes back. We'll let you know where we're going with that, and where that's
When
going.
Chris comes back, were you going on a hunting trip or something?
no, it's gonna be, can I take this?
You want all this stuff back?
I don't wanna get into a whole other topic.
Nice, I don't want it to go to waste.
Good.
We're working
Turn
on
it back
I'll
to the
walk
5th
away.
grade.
I'm working on that.
The question would be is if we ever go consecutive, can we commit a basin for this?
Depends where the source is. We'll talk about that.
Okay, but you don't need food for that.
You're actually
Yeah,
Huh?
I said we're actually, yeah.
I'll swing by with mine.
Trying to.
Oh, yeah.
We do a lot of thinking ahead, it's just,
Sometimes I feel control.
yeah.
Talk yourself right out of it.
Chris, one quick question.
Yes.
If these pressures don't get resolved, does that change the construction? As of it is right now, construction timeline is starting in, call it April?
Yeah. No, again, the only impetus there would be that, the pump station, so if the pressure, the transients don't go away, you're gonna have two pump stations are going in,
Okay.
so.
So all the pipes, everything's, so there's gonna be construction crews this year, no matter what, putting pipe in the ground.
Yes.
Okay.
Since you take questions,
Well, I wanna, I gotta offer some light at the end of the
Right,
tunnel on
well-
this thing.
when certain sections of pipe are put in, Ollister Road, Morton Station, are they gonna turn the water on piecemeal, or are they gonna wait until the whole thing's all set up and then do a big flush, a big chlorination, and then say, you're all set to connect?
I believe the push is to get Masonic on,
Yep,
because that's gonna be the straw, that's gonna get the water, facilitate water movement, all right?
it certainly will for North Main Street.
Yeah, so that they could activate, typically, you know, you have a request for approval to activate, typically DEP will let you do in pieces, which we've done in, you know, other areas. So if we could get that finalized, chlorinated, tested, and get them up and going, because
Sure.
really, to get that other line in, it's just a matter of maybe depending upon how this thing can progress through the construction season,
get it down to the school. That would be another, big push, get it off of, that area that there's concern at the intersection of,
Right, but that wouldn't happen until September when the school's open, because you don't wanna create a massive dead end. But if you got the schools going, then
if we
it'd be
get
the
the
start.
school, that intersection and that school connected in the summer. So it's either gonna be Masonic or the spur going to the school would be the start of
Okay,
that
all right,
during
okay,
the summertime.
thank you.
If I may. So I was traveling up 20 and I saw that hydrant was repaired, that was on the,
Yeah,
The
going
east.
towards ADT on the right-hand side.
okay, so they, was it repaired just to the barrel of the hydrant, or was it, did it break at the flange, or did you get a
The
report on
riser
that?
was replaced, yes,
Okay, from the flange up, or,
yes.
all right, so there was no other damage to that, because we had tested that whole section of pipe
Yeah.
through there. Was there water in the pipe?
Yeah.
Okay, so there should have been, because
Yeah.
it was tested and
That
left pressurized.
surprised them, so,
It
yes, there
surprised
was
them,
water
yeah.
in the pipe.
Okay,
There are some, that accident also destroyed some of the gate boxes and covers. So whatever took that off must have taken off a couple of the valves, the gate box and covers for the valves. We have to look into repairing.
so
as
was,
well.
oh, I'm sorry.
So the gate bag, so those gate boxes were in the soil, not in the street.
Correct.
Okay.
Did they replace them?
They did not. That wasn't part of the scope. They just did the riser and the hydrant.
Are we
Right
able-
down to the shoe,
Yeah.
holding hydrant.
Yes.
So so were they able to isolate the hydrant, were they able to shut the hydrant gate off? Is that how they did it?
I believe so, yes.
Because it was on when so the hydrant was on, and then when they started digging, they opened hydrant and they had pressure in it?
Yes.
They probably turn it on at the end, that's typical for them to make sure everything's watertight.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Did the insurance company get back to us?
No.
But Chris, the only reason there would be any pressure in that pipe is gravity fed from coming up by the lamp shop.
We pressurized it,
You pressurized it, right?
tested.
But there's no, that line's not on.
No, it's not
being
on.
fed.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's good that there's still pressure in it, that means
Yeah.
it's been holding for
Yeah,
so long.
right.
Couple
It's good
years,
news.
couple, 3, 4 years.
Okay. Want to make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
There's a lot of stuff going on there, so it's gonna get busy. A lot of good stuff, actually.
Okay, go into new business.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I found these water sewer commission meter rules and regulations for water and sewer billing. And in the back, you'll see that I sent you a red line version maybe a week and a half ago that showed the proposed changes I'd like to make versus what was there. This is a clean copy. If you go back, page 7 of 8 shows our sewer meter rates. I just want to make them consistent with what you guys approved with a 9% increase a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So, the rates that were included in this, and this is online, were far enough back where it was like $96, and then it was like .00 something cents per gallon. So I think it missed a couple of updates of changes that were made, so I think we should just get this in line. I just wanted to get you guys to approve it. This sewer rate is effective 10/6/2017, because you guys made it effective for October, November, December, and it'll be processed in the January billing. So on the next thing, I mentioned January 1st it being effective, but it's actually, the last time we read meters was October 5th. So this new rate will be effective from October 6th till our next read and moving forward. I did forget to add the 9% increase to the surcharges that are discussed there. So if you just want to make a note, the surcharge for total suspended solids will be $2.10 per pound.
210?
The surcharge for BODs will be $3.58 per pound. and for ammonia will be $4.68 per pound. And like I said, I'll just put a note in there that these rates are effective October 6th, 2017. And I just wanted to know, if you wanted to review it, you can kind of look and see what's there and see if there's any other changes that you'd want to make at this time.
The regulations, I think we can just make a motion on, right?
Correct, that's why I wanted to put it in front of you.
Okay.
So we're voting on the regulations in here?
Yeah. Yeah, they're already approved.
Just sewer or water too?
No, they're water and sewer, rules and regulations for water and sewer billing, metered water sewer billing.
I had half a dozen questions or so.
Okay, that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. Do you want a printed copy, Alex,
No,
to see it easier?
no, I took notes, 210.
210.
I just wanna scroll back up to,
Yeah. That's kind of why I wanted to throw it out. We're
Yeah.
gonna make changes, we might as well look at it and make any changes you wanna make, and I'll send it to Lisa Westfall, and she can just put the new revised version up on the website. Um, 210 talks about the size of the meter.
yeah, special requirements, fire inspection. So you mentioned the commission makes the choice of the size of the meter,
Yes.
and I think in 3.8, either 3.2, hold on. It seems to contradict itself.
Two eight, you said?
No, 3.
Three.
Commission determines that a meter is inappropriately sized, commission shall have the right to direct the owner to change. If the commission directed them in the first place to the size of the meter, it just seems counterproductive.
Which one are you on, 3.8?
No, 310,
Oh, 310.
sorry. 310.
I think it would apply to something that has happened in the past, and that it's once, then it's discovered. I think that's where that may come in, Alex, I don't know, that's what my.
What do you mean?
Is if in fact, a property is online, and when the meter was put in, whether these didn't exist, or someone made a mistake, I think that what 310 does, it covers for something that had either been put in the past, or had been mistakenly put in, to where the commission can come in and make the change.
Yeah, but, so we never deemed what size meter went in the past?
Some, like I said, someone may have made a mistake, that's what I'm saying, this allows for mistakes. being
Meters
made.
were put in before this was in place.
I understand that, but hasn't it always been up to the discretion of somebody within water and sewer
Doesn't
commission
mean
and
it
or?
was done, doesn't mean the right decision was made at that time.
And in fact, even in the beginning.
So if the right decision wasn't made to begin with, now it's on them? Even though we made the wrong decision as far as the sizing of the meter?
No, I think what would happen was the owner was allowed to pick which meter they wanted previously.
Okay.
So we didn't tell them.
But even still
Now,
under this,
But I think,
Going
like
forward-
Mr. Lemansky says, this lets us go back to the ones predating this where the water.
well, there
sewer
should be a date associated with that then,
Okay.
don't you think?
I'm just not sure what date you, because I'm not sure what
Well,
date.
the
these were
adoption
originally-
date,
These?
whenever that may be, you know what I'm saying?
I think the theory behind it is, let's say a apartment complex opens up and they have a 2-inch meter and the flow's increased, and, maybe they need a 3-inch or a compound or something. It basically gives flexibility in there to go back and.
But, Mr. Chair, the last sentence, the owner will be responsible for the charges and fees associated with the change of this meter, unless the commission determines that the change is due to an error
By the commission.
by the commission. So what it
Just,
does.
it just seems a long way to get there.
Right, but what it does, it kind of covers exactly what you're saying. It'd be unfair to go and say, you got the wrong meter and you gotta.
Yeah, even though we chose that meter for
Yeah.
you.
Correct, but if it's determined that someone did
Okay.
things on their own,
So, 210, 211. Talk about during construction. Installation. So you're saying you gotta pay a year's worth for unmetered water? On an addition?
That's what it says.
So
Why don't we
again,
just give them a meter?
two
If they have
eleven.
an active
Yeah.
water service?
Yes.
That just seems nuts, you know? Even if it's a temporary meter that's gonna get replaced at the end of construction, why, it just seems like if we can just give them a meter and charge them with, you know? Who's paying for a frozen meter in 3.2? Meter shall be installed full or half basement, in a location protected from freezing, and accessible without the removal of panels, blocks, or other structural members. Installation of meters in crawl spaces or under buildings will not be permitted without a prior approval of the commission when the property has no cellar or the meter cannot properly be set inside. The expense of the proper meter box
Hold on
to
one second.
vault shall be borne on the owner of the property. The installation of a meter box or pit shall be the sole discretion of the commission. I will caution you on this. Now you're getting into putting people into a confined space entry possibly for a meter changeout.
I just wanna go back to 211.
Sure.
So why don't we change it to, which service, well, basically metered during construction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Absolutely, there should be remain unmetered, take that right out of there and just,
Right.
applicant for new service, a new billing in addition.
You get plasters and everything else.
When you
running
want the
around.
water hooked up, it's getting needed from that day forward,
Right.
That's the way it should be.
right? Okay. Does that make sense, Peter? Just,
So there's no fine of 1 year's annual rate?
Yeah, do you wanna pay a year's
No, of course
annual
not.
rate and
No, I
then
wanna
figure
pay
out the
for what I
difference?
use.
Right.
And I don't want any free water, but I wanna pay for what I use, and only what I use.
makes sense?
Yeah, I'll make some changes. Again, why don't we just go through tonight, I'll jot
Yeah.
some notes down, I'll send out another red line version based on what I changed, and we'll talk about it
And
next
what,
meeting.
what was the next one, Alex?
3.2, frozen meters, who's paying for them?
3.2.
That's usually negligence on the property owner.
That should be somewhere else, right?
Meter shall be installed on the full protected from freezing,
You know, I would strongly advise getting away from the meter pits, external from the house. So, if they have a meter pit in the garage or something, yeah, that's fine. But nothing in the dirt.
So what you're talking about, they would be below grade.
Right,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
and it does,
Exactly,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
vague,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, it does say the sole discretion of the commission, so basically,
But if you define it a little better, then it doesn't, you know? 3.8, private water systems?
Yeah. For sewer, we install a meter on a private water system. Because not everyone's on municipal.
So, on a well?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that a water system,
yeah, but you got some condo places in here that are water systems.
yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I got.
Which one's that?
Should that, the pressure reducing valve, is 120 right, or should it be lower?
Well,
So pressure reducing valve should be installed upstream of meter assembly when the inlet pressure is expected to exceed 120.
90, 110, somewhere in there.
I'm just wondering if we should change it to 100, or if that's, is 120,
I'm not sure.
is 120 too high?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
All your dishwashers and all your interior plumbing fixtures are based on 80, but there's flex in that, you know? I'd say 100 was probably an easier, a better
Well, you could do
line in the sand, if you will.
recommended from 100 to 120 and mandatory.
100 and above,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, you can make it mandatory, 120 above, recommended at over 100.
Is there an American Water Works Association recommendation for some of these things?
There is, I just don't know off
Maybe
the top
that's
of my
what we
head.
should check.
Or like you said, if it's 80,
Whatever it is,
recommended
whatever
over
it is.
80.
That's
you
right,
know?
yeah. Because, again, you don't wanna damage any,
No,
you know, people's, people's property.
Then there's a backflow question I had, but I'll find it later, Peter.
Again, if you wanna email it to me,
Yep.
I'll make changes for our next meeting.
okay, pretty good with this? I mean, we're just gonna go through a couple more times, so. Alright. Does that go through your sewer rates, or did we go? did
Well,
we
the sewer rate sheet is just another sheet I just wanted to put in front of you guys for approval, because I found this on the computer, and I didn't really see it up anywhere. That's the next item.
Didn't we just adjust that, though?
But this is more just to post,
Oh, okay.
just to post and put on the website, so it's quick and easy. People, this isn't meters, this is also for,
Title V.
for the EDU, for the bedrooms, so.
Yeah, I do have one more.
Did the EDUs change?
Went up 9%?
The EDUs did.
No.
No, the EDUs didn't. The usage did. So the EDUs should still be $8,200.
Yeah, that's the betterment slash
Oh.
privilege fee.
Yes,
That didn't change.
that
No.
didn't change.
No, but the EDU method, if it was $72, that went up 9%.
Per bedroom.
Yeah, whatever it is.
So it's
per
not an
bedroom.
EDU, it went
Okay.
from $70 per bedroom to $76.30
Okay.
per bedroom.
People who are on the EDU
Sorry.
method,
Yes, bedroom method, it's
Yeah,
not even
clarification.
EDU method, right, I guess it would be the bedroom method.
Okay. I
Because
just-
EDU is one EDU per household, that doesn't even take into consideration bedrooms.
I do have another silly question.
Which one?
Larger than a 1-inch owner provides meter? There's no more documentation about that? There's no,
What number?
page 7 of 8, it must be 5, 6. The top of the page, page 7, says meter size and type.
Oh, yeah?
So there's no specification as to what that meter is?
I think that what you should do is add to it that, per the commission. So that
Right.
rather than inventorying
I
2-inch or
didn't come
4-inch.
up-
No,
Just
I'm
what
just,
was there. Yeah,
I mean,
no.
they get a gallons instead of units, they could get whatever they wanted off the Home Depot shelf versus.
So like Southbridge, for example, what they do, just like what Ms. Lemansky said, they don't stock a 4-inch compound meter. So, but you say, hey, I need a 4-inch compound meter for this, okay, they order it, it's $5,000.
Right,
But it's gotta be to the
They-
Southbridge's spec.
Exactly.
exactly.
That's not a spec.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
just put owner provides meter
Per
per
commission.
commission spec and approval. Okay.
So on the rate page,
So you're good with the rates, right? That's all set? Do we
Alright,
need to vote on that?
I don't know, I have to make them effective October 6th, not January 1st, and I have to change the per pound price to reflect a 9% increase on those as well.
okay.
I think we already,
Yeah, and if you guys,
Voted
if
it
you guys
all
are
and
fine
everything,
with
it
the
should be
format,
fine.
I'll
Yeah.
just change that and I'll post it,
yep,
and that'll be good.
okay. 2019 capital items?
Okay, just before we leave that, the last, total of the billing, did that include the 9%?
No.
It did, okay, thank you.
I don't believe so.
Okay, no,
Right, we changed the rates after that was done.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That's what we voted, I believe.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
So the budget, we're gonna be starting the budgeting process. So I gave you guys the 2 sheets that show how the current water budget and the current sewer budget is broken down.
Peter, you're way too early with this. We usually do this last week of February.
Oh, I can wait.
No, don't wait.
I think it's great you're doing it ahead.
I agree.
The water probably isn't gonna change too much, because again, we don't have too much coming in. The sewer, I'd kinda like to change up some of the line items, so it might be a little bit cleaner and easier to track throughout the year. But the bigger thing comes to capital items and kind of what you guys think you might wanna do come up towards the end of the year. And if you wanna do any capital items out of your retained earnings, we can do those at the annual town meeting as well, if you wanna do anything bigger than what we have budgeted in capital here. I know under the capital replacement equipment, we have $385,000 for this fiscal year. Steve told me 200,000 of that was to do the driveway. So I'm not sure if that was an accurate, if that was still a priority, or what we're actually gonna use that money for come springtime. The new permit I&I, this is probably the second year you've carried that, at 44,000, I'd probably like to rename that, so it's just a recurring cost every year, so we can keep on doing some I&I studies each year and pecking away at it, and we can keep giving the DEP reports based on the work we're doing, based on that number. And, everything else, the only other big thing I wanna change is your maintenance and equipment line item is a big number, but more than half of that is taken right off the top for contract operations. So I'd like to take contract operations out of that, make it its own line item, to cover what we owe the operator plus the monthly $2,500 fee, so we know we can't touch that. And I think that'll give us a more reflective amount of what we have for regular routine maintenance and equipment money throughout the year. So,
Cause then we can, like when Veolia hits us with a $4,000 bill, or what, like if there's $100,000
Right.
in there,
you'll see.
we can say,
you'll see
hey,
the actual
listen, you
impact.
gotta, ease up here.
Yep, you'll see the actual impact versus seeing it on top of everything else that they have going on.
I agree.
Peter, I have seen some budget sheets that have separated debt principal and debt interest to where it took the financial part of the sewer. When I say the financial part, I'm talking about our commitment to what we owe for debt for the different projects we did, and then also what's coming in from betterments and also privilege fees. So that, I've seen that out of the budget to where then we only take operation. The only part that's in this other budget would be the operation of the treatment plant and the income from the billing, so that we get the real, the real flow of what's costing to operate that. Because for the most part, the other part that includes debt and principal and monies that are already being held, for me, it kind of adds numbers in here that
Right.
really have nothing to do with operation. I think sometimes they can be confusing. For instance, when we talk about debt, like I was saying, 2 of the projects are gonna be retired within the next 18 to 24 months. So that's just gonna go away, but what happens is, when it goes away, it doesn't impact our operating budget, because those funds are coming from another source that's been paying for the debt.
Correct.
Okay, so again, I think if it's possible to try to,
Put those somewhere else so you see what your actual operating
well,
budget is only.
exactly.
Okay, I'll ask. Okay. And then, again, we'll just have to have some follow-up talks on where you're thinking about going with that capital fund that you have there, and what you wanna do with that. And again, we can always, if we don't spend it by the end of FY18, we can always encumber it to do the project in the summertime.
Did we
And just
approve
carry it
that
forward.
headwork study?
That's next.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And again, I think, like,
'Cause that's
this,
gonna kinda-
this might give you some direction on what to do for some capital
just
funding
gonna
as
say.
well, so. So if you wanna move on to the headworks analysis?
Cause I think the capital funding is gonna more be refurbishing stuff.
Hmm?
We're staying ahead of things.
Try to, I think.
you know, RBC motors, things of that nature,
Yep.
so.
If I can turn the page back a little bit to, the I and I.
Yep.
I think one thing that was missed is we've spent considerable money to put these recorders in our pump stations. And we're not following up on those, or at least gathering that information. And I thought maybe that the study that was done, or at least over on, because what they did was Glen-Echo Lake,
Yeah.
that they would have included that information in part of their study. Because those, they're called DACA recorders, correct?
The chat ones?
We got 11 of them within our pump stations. What they do is record when the pumps come on and the duration
I think,
of the time that they're on and when they shut off. And what that will tell us is, that will give us an idea of when they're working, when they're not working, is when we have flow, when we don't have flow. And also, depending on the time of the year, or if in fact we have a rain event on a specific day, because this will give you day and time.
I think they use those to identify Glen Echo as an area of concern, that's why they started there, 'cause they said they saw the long pump run times in that area.
Right.
Yeah, North
So-
Sturbridge Road.
Yeah,
So I
and
think-
I think we should be using those more and more, but I will say this, and, over the years, we've always talked about I&I and what we've done on our own is, rather than have these independent studies done, we've identified areas to where we knew there were problems. The North Sturbridge Road, I remember when we did the,
Leak detection.
Blue Moon or whoever it was,
Blue
did the
Water.
leak, Blue Water, they did the leak detection, fixed that. There was another one down at Charlton City, right there at the mill, they fixed that one. There was another one on Dam Road that they fixed. And, I think the only difference between what we did then and what we're doing now is we didn't do the fancy report to DEP, which that's a requirement now. But now we have the format for that. We did get a copy, or we're gonna get a copy of that report.
He's preparing it now,
Right,
yes,
right.
to submit
Yeah,
by the end of the
yeah.
year. But I think it's important to also have them finish doing that GIS mapping that they were doing, the manhole location, and examining the manholes and actually visually seeing which direction the pipe goes from there. Because our plans are there, we have phase one, we have phase two, we have the plans, but I think to actually have them do that GIS mapping of that and get you the line size and the condition of the manholes is pretty, I think it's important. And then you just overlay that with water, and you overlay that with drainage, and you overlay that with everything, and it gives not just us, but everybody in town a kind of overview of what's where and how it's placed.
We do have maps of it, I agree it's important, all right, but also the other side is, we need to make sure we keep a handle on costs.
Correct, but again, it's $44,000 a year out of your budget's probably 1.2 million minus.
I know this is the first time we spent any money on I&I in the last 10 years, so that's.
This will be your second year. I think you carried the same amount last year because we encumbered.
Oh, we
it.
carried the same amount as long as I can remember.
Yeah, we've already carried it, we just
Oh,
never
you
spent
guys
it.
never spent it?
We never
Yeah.
spent it, so that's $400,000. So if we had spent that, then instead of retained earnings of $680, we'd have $280. So,
Yeah, we don't
again, I'm
spend
not,
it.
I'm trying to be a tightwad here, but just trying to say is that, there are some things that, we need to do, and some things we need to discuss, and then make that decision, and
Oh,
if it
definitely.
makes sense, and we all wanna go forward, and we all wanna be updated, and all have the most slickest, items available to us, because that GIS is great. Especially if in fact someone's coming to town and they wanna know where the infrastructure is, so.
Sounds good.
Alright.
Headworks?
Headworks. So I've been working with John Oatley on trying to come up with, put in Headworks analysis, proposal together so I can go out and get some prices for you guys. I just wanted to kind of ask you about it one more time before I spend the time and actually get price proposals to make sure you're interested. Ballpark cost is gonna be anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. What I have here is I have the scope of services that John did for you guys back in, I guess it was April. I just wanna take that and I'm gonna go out to if you guys have, if you wanna give me a specific engineers you like, I'll create this scope of service and I'll shop it around to 3 of them, get some prices to bring back to you, and we can get this headworks analysis going.
You might as well call back Woodard and Curran. They'll have 90% of our information. And that's, you know, they're an engineering firm first and foremost,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
so. But I thought John had said that Woodard and Curran were only gonna do a, you know, backroom engineering headworks analysis
This
and,
scope of services, it's a paper study
Okay.
of what's there for levels, and what's coming in, and what, it's a paper study of what's coming in, it's a paper study of what's in the plant that's operating, and how well it's treating what it's taking in and what we're discharging.
if you don't mind me asking, shouldn't we already know that?
Well, specifically.
Yes and no. You know what your effluent limits are based on you know what your effluent discharge is based on your limits, but you don't know how you're getting to those limits. How you're getting to those concentrations. It's just happening. It's like Santa
So
Claus.
how's a paper study gonna do that?
Because it's gonna show you how the RBCs are working, how the EQ tanks are working, what the COMAG is doing. It's gonna take into consideration what they were designed to do. It's gonna take into consideration what's actually coming in the plant and what's leaving the plant, and show you how everything is working together. And how a higher level of BOD might not put you over your limits on BOD, but it will affect how the RBCs work, so we go over our limits on ammonia, because we're too busy focusing on the treatment process was too busy focusing on the extra BOD at that time.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that will be telling is that when they do the grab samples of what's coming into the plant,
Mhm.
and I'm sure, and they're gonna do multiple grab samples. I would expect that's what they would do. Because there are times to where everything's gonna look dandy, and times to where things are gonna look ugly. But like to your point, is when you mix them all together, everything looks fine. So,
Well, it sounds like they're not doing that.
we don't have that information right now. On
Right.
exactly what's coming in the plant at certain times.
They do grab samples
How
of what's
often?
coming in. I'm not sure of the time frame. How often they do it.
That
If
might-
It
they do
sounds
it-
like they're just gonna consolidate the data that's already there and put it against what the operational data is, or what it's supposed to be running at, the engineering specs to what's coming in. So there's no in the field or in the plant operations, it's just paper to pencil, right?
Yes. It's a paper study. Taking information in, taking information out, seeing what's there for the plant, and identifying what's working well, what isn't, what can be changed to make it work more efficiently to get us where we are.
And a paper study
Because
can do that?
not one process, they're not all in individual lanes. Ammonia treatment isn't in its own lane. It's all independent. So it's just, I think it'll just give us an overview of what's there, what's working well, what isn't, what can we accept for loadings from industrial customers. And from that information, we can take that, see what we have for capacity, and create an IPP program to take it to the next step and say, this is what we have, this is why we can't take this, and this is why we can say no. This is why we have to say no. This is why we have to come back to you at this point and say, yes, we were taking this for the last 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. We can't take it anymore. The concentrations are too high. Either you need to pre-treat there, you need to pre-treat before we get it. Yeah, it's,
And this, by conducting the study and having this paperwork, it will certainly aid us when in fact we do have to go to someone and say, your ammonia levels are too high, you need to pre-treat.
yes. And it will also give you information when you have a comment period on your NIPD's permit, and they start changing stuff around. You can say, we've done a headworks analysis, this is what we have coming in, and we can take this information and plead our case with actual data, instead of just saying, well, we don't think it should be that, because that's how we feel. We can actually present a case
Okay.
in the future.
I don't think it's gonna get us what we want, but it's.
You know what, maybe I'm being hopeful.
Yeah.
But, because again, I don't wanna do a study that's gonna sit on the shelf and it's not gonna reap us any benefits.
Right, or-
By any
But we
means.
do, we gotta move in a direction, and it's a start in a direction, so.
So what other companies were you going out to?
I was gonna do Ty and Bond and Beta. If you, again,
And Wood and
I can do
Curran.
more than 3, yes, Wood, yeah, you mentioned Wood and Curran.
Anybody else?
If you got, I'll do
John,
whoever.
didn't John have a couple of companies he
Isn't
recommended?
Veolia doing,
Vi-
or are they stepping out of it?
Veolia, he said they don't do this.
Okay.
The price proposal he had, they went to somebody else.
It was third party.
But, again, in talking to Beta, they've been responsive, and Ty and Bond has a lot of history here, so.
Woodard and Curran already gave us a quote of $12,000. You can probably find it in the office and see if it's still valid, right? I mean, it's last year, but
We'll see. Okay.
I highly doubt it is, but nonetheless.
Alright, so,
All right.
hopefully I'll have some prices for you guys to consider on that soon.
Alright, any of this old business, the 169 pump station easement for National Grid?
Yes, this is new, need an easement to run the power lines to the new
Yeah.
pump station.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, we accept the easement as written.
Got a second? They run underground or overhead?
Overhead,
Why we need an easement?
an overhead system, yes, need an easement.
Actually, where's the telephone pole, and if it's local, if it's somewhat within the area, why aren't we going underground?
They're part of the plan.
The last page, keep going, Rob, a couple more pages.
No?
Let me answer Rob's question first.
Yeah.
because
I thought it was a meter box on the side of the building and it was underground.
Nope.
No?
Furnish install 45 class 2 utility pole less specified, provide guy wire anchored 8 foot horizontally from base of pole opposing direction of all new overhead wiring as shown. New utility pole shall support 3-phase transformer cluster with riser conduit.
So it's underground from the pole to the building, but they need to put the transformer on there, so.
Why don't they just go do a drop and bring it to a transformer pad and go underground into the...
Exactly.
I read it earlier, I didn't wanna...
That's,
Chris
yeah,
It's
was...
probably 3 times the money.
well, I
It's
don't know,
not-
it's not really.
No.
No, we pay for it, I think. Well, Kleinfelder does. National Grid don't give you anything anymore.
No, but the
Oh,
electrical.
never mind. It's across the street.
It's across the street,
Power?
but still,
But they still could do...
at least from the last pole into the building, so there's no, it's not hanging off the building.
No, it's underground. So they're probably giving you a pole going across the street.
Yeah, it's a new pole in
It calls-
front of
it
the
calls-
station.
I think, Alice, I think you just read 2 poles,
No,
no?
a class 2 pole.
Oh, class 2.
One class 2 pole. So, can you find out if it's a drop? Does anybody know? Down the pole?
I can find out.
Didn't you just read, didn't it just say, conduit drop?
Pete, I think what would make the most sense is obviously we have a pole on the property
Mhm.
that comes from across the street, and then from the pole, you go underground to the station.
Never need an easement for that pole.
Need an easement for the pole and need an easement, yeah,
That's all I know of is
Yeah.
for the pole.
for the
Yeah,
pole.
Because having overhead, you don't need an easement usually.
Yeah, no, well, that's what I was saying.
And so this has really nothing to do with the underground, because.
And even if it is overhead, it doesn't really matter.
Right,
Should be out of the way. It goes to the weatherhead to the side of the building, or if it comes.
Right.
well, if a tree limb comes down, if you don't, that's what's great about underground. The problem with underground is heat, but the great part about it is you don't have to worry about a limb falling and taking out your wires. But this easement is for the pole, we need a pole.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we need a motion on that, or?
Yes.
I made the motion.
Alright, we got a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous.
Your signatures have to be notarized. So Mary has a copy of this, if you guys can stop and sign and have her notarize it.
I think you should become a notary.
That's right, you can sign it right now and be,
Yep,
that's it,
so food for
You guys
thought.
send me the training.
Yep, that's fine.
training.
So you want us
That's
all
well, you know what I
to
mean?
stop by
You
Mary's
should have one
office?
down in the
That's right.
office now, so.
Norma, what do you think?
Those are the poll books. Alex, that's what the poll books.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here.
Oh, okay.
From the street to
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
This is the easement they need to put the pole there.
Yeah.
And then from there, they're doing the building underground.
Oh, I thought this pole was on the other side of the street.
I thought so too.
The pole it's coming from is, the drop is from across the street,
It is from across the street.
yes. This is the proposed pole they're putting in front of the station, is right here. Where am I? This here, this overhead wire,
Yep.
this is across the street.
Yeah.
Or far enough on that embankment, even if it's on the same side, it's a fair drop to go to that pole.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
next.
Next, yep. Grant, water master plan?
Yes, so this is the $200,000 grant.
Yep.
What we have with Beta for work so far is probably, and with what McClure has done, will probably bring us just over 110 or 120, so there's gonna be $80,000 left there. It has to be spent this fiscal year.
Yep.
I talked to Steve McCurdy from the DEP who administers the grant, and he says we can use it for anything to do with developing a water system. So I reached out to Beta and asked them if they could look into possibly doing some well exploration and possible pump test down by Buffinville, and get us some information on that, so we can use this money towards something to move us forward in that
So this fiscal
that
year
direction.
in regards to up till July,
June 30th,
or
yes.
June 30th. But I think that also allows, remember I talked to you about this earlier?
Yeah.
Because you're a town employee, we were gonna use some of that money for Kevin. But he was a subcontractor, so it was a little bit different.
I can reach out to him and ask him if they'd reimburse some of those funds based
Good.
on the work he did to prepare the
Consecutive water
grant.
study, you know what I mean, stuff like that,
Hold it.
was all under that.
No. The water master plan grant,
Yeah, it's the one we got from DEP.
correct. It had nothing to do with the superintendent. The superintendent was ExxonMobil money.
One of
Yes.
the items in the scope of services has the superintendent preparing the water operating budget for the consecutive water supply application to the DEP.
Yeah, one of the things.
One of the
So,
things.
so we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
originally
But
gonna,
this isn't the same, this is not the same one.
Yes. Part of this grant, there's, the
Yes.
scope of services is probably 6 pages.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it's right here.
The,
Right, it should be in your packet. You guys have a copy of this grant in your packet.
yeah, the agreement with ExxonMobil
it's different, that's for a water superintendent.
had $250, was it
$250,000, yeah, for 3
Right,
years.
Right, and it was, at least from, in my eyes, it was crystal clear that when we hired Kevin Pecos, that money we were paying him was coming out of that $250.
But the only, what Gabe was references is item 16, under letter F. It says, draft an application to DEP for Charlton to become a public water
Sure.
supply.
Yeah, yeah.
Incorporate the application, water system funding plan, and operating budget provided by the interim controller. So, that's where,
That's right.
that's where that position is
And this
mentioned.
200 grand comes out of the $6 million. No,
I don't believe so. This
No.
is a separate grant.
I don't think so.
It's a separate grant, Rob. We've gone over this a dozen
I
times.
don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah,
This is,
I apologize if I'm wrong, but
I'll double
again,
check on that, but
I
I
don't
believe
think
it's a
so.
separate grant.
I don't think so.
But anyway, I guess the purpose is, if the board doesn't object, I'll continue to work with Beta to see if they can provide me with a scope of service to do some water well exploration down in the Buffinville area with the remaining funding of this grant. That-
I
that
agree
was-
with everything except down in the Buffalo area.
Okay. So, do you wanna identify different areas, or do you?
Oh, yeah, well, there's many different areas, because we've already done water exploration down at Buffalo's, extensive,
Yeah.
to the tune, I think, was $360,000 worth, or $380. It's paid
It
the time
depends,
bond.
it depends which plan. But yeah, there's three plans. There was one from 2003, one from 2006, and then in 2007, there was a nice thin book that actually had the well development, pump station, water main design and everything to get up to our infrastructure.
Yeah.
So, if there's other areas the board would like them to focus on, we can have them do that as well. I'm not saying Buffinville's the only one, but Buffinville, because of where the school loop is going, seems to be a good one for, your most reliable source of water moving in the future. And with the funding from the, $5 million bond bill, it seems like it could be affordable and a possibility to get completed in that amount, so.
I would think there'd be some value in having them analyze what Ty and Bond found,
Mhm.
and also how to overcome the location of the well within the floodplain.
The obstacles? Okay.
Yeah, major, right, because that would make sense, okay, but we don't need to do any more exploration down there.
Well,
But
I
we need
guess, okay, so I guess what I meant by exploration was to pick up with what was left there and see if they can get that going again.
Right.
I'm not talking about going and drilling 6 new wells everywhere else, but taking what was done, seeing what the obstacles were and seeing how we overcome them
Didn't
to make
Chris
it usable.
talk about some crazy water over off of Gillespie Road, down off the back there? On the backside of top of the hill?
That's owned by Stewart's. They got two, I think it's either 70 or 100 gallon a minute, I think it's 70 gallon a minute wells. But like I said, as far as Buffum goes, the major obstacles over there, as pointed out by, this was years ago, by Paul Anderson from DEP, was A, you're doing business with the Army Corps of Engineers, and B, which was really double A, is the wellhead is located in the floodplain. So, and Alex pointed out, I think it was at last meeting, is you can do this directional drilling, which they're getting real good at, is that if in fact you can have the wellhead in an upland and go down and across to, because I think it was 260 or 270 gallon a minute source they
Yes,
identified
it's
over there.
quite a bit. So again, I forwarded those 3 reports. I mailed those to Beta
Yeah,
for them to review and get back to me with what they would
Yeah.
determine the next step.
yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of present that
Well,
to
and I
let you
think
know.
too, I think I talked with you about this, Alex. If we have, Southbridge still the interconnection but not connected, that constitutes your backup,
Your redundancy.
your redundancy.
Right, as
So
long as the
then-
water's matched.
Which they wouldn't.
Wait, matched, or do they have to be matched, Alex, or as long as, if you shut one off and turn the other on?
They have to be matched.
Matched from what they need?
Treatment processes,
They need to be
corrosion
identical?
preventative, yeah, they have to be commingleable, I guess, if that's a word.
Yeah, but even though we're not gonna commingle them, other than the first day it gets turned on.
To DEP's standard, Rob,
Yeah,
they have to be the same, okay? You term that as whatever you want,
yeah,
but
that sounds unreasonable and unrealistic, but
Oh, fair
again,
enough.
I'll take it.
No, but you don't, Alex is right, I mean, you got a surface water.
do you understand what happened in Flint, Michigan, why that happened?
No,
Okay, a quick synopsis as to why. They changed sources of water. The original source of water had a corrosion preventative in it that coated the inside of the pipe. When someone deemed it was cheaper to go with another source of water,
Out of the river.
it didn't have that same corrosion preventative that released all the lead into the system. It's that
okay,
simple.
good.
The pH was way off, so it took all the lead right out of the pipe.
So if anything,
They treat it for corrosion.
right, right. Of the three possibilities of water sources, the gravel pack is considered to be the purest.
Yes. Pure,
So
I think
we
most reliable for
Most
a clean
reliable,
source.
right, and consistent,
Yes,
right, so we would be going from a surface source
yes.
to a gravel pack.
Mhm.
That's the question, I guess.
That's kind
Debate.
of where I was going with it,
Yeah,
so.
80 grand sounds like a lot of money to do that.
I'm not saying they have to use it all, I was
Okay,
just saying
yeah,
that
maybe it could be done
Let's
some-
that's
kind
what
of
was,
chip away at it.
that's
Right.
what's left.
Yeah.
The other thing
Good
too,
move.
is, we should see how much work's involved with exploring the consecutive.
They're doing that.
Not all of it, though.
They're doing most of it. By the time they're done in March, they should have enough done so that they can do the feasibility analysis and
Okay.
be ready to,
'Cause-
they should be ready to prepare your application to become a consecutive water
Okay,
supplier.
all
at
I'm
that
saying
time.
is, all that stuff can get encompassed in that $200,000 grant.
It is. You.
I'm just saying,
But,
just-
yes, no, I understand. But
Yeah.
in that 70,000, what they've already been awarded gets you to that point to apply.
Okay,
So it's not like they, when they get done the work that they're doing, they shouldn't come back and have another $50,000 bill to take you to the next step.
okay. That rate study could probably get absorbed in this?
Yes. Again, because they should have the capital improvement plan, they should have everything done and ready to just.
What I'm
do-
saying is just
Yep.
make sure
I'll
you
make
got
sure
enough
that's- yes,
money.
yep.
The consecutive is probably priority number one.
You also have the
Use that
20,
grant for that.
you also have the $25,000 grant and the $30,000 grant that you haven't touched yet. That's there for water stuff as well.
So the 25 is for us in Oxford, and then the 30 was, Chris was supposed to be using that last year.
No, for the, right, for the,
The 25 was not identified for Oxford in the paperwork I saw.
Thought it was for the lowest section, each
east
section.
side chart. We had a meeting, at the meeting, that's what we decided.
Any clarifications in the back? Isn't that what the 25 was for?
I would defer to Peter's telling you what is in the grant application.
Okay.
Again, I reviewed the scope of, there's no scope of services for the $30,000 grant. There is one for the 25, and it was not, it was identified for water development, not East Charlton.
Did we use the
And that's where we would have developed water, because we had a system of infrastructure there, but with no water source. So it was decided, at least they thought that, as I recall, and I mean, is that that's what we would do. We would try to find a source and make a mini system over there using, whether it be well water or gravel back water to service East Charlton.
Okay.
Ask Chris, but I think we might have used some of that money for him to get the other grant.
In fact, it's in the minutes of one of the
There's
meetings.
been no money withdrawn from that grant, that I can tell.
So what did we use to pay Chris to get to that 3% or 10% design? That's how we got the $2.5 million grant. We paid Chris to do a certain level, I don't remember.
From
the
what I
exact
can tell, that
numbers.
came out of the $200,000 grant.
Okay.
Okay. But, I mean,
Next.
From what I reviewed, it came out of that big grant.
okay. All right.
Administrative assistant. We have 13 applicants. I met with Jessica last week, we reviewed all 13 of them and came up with 7 probably strong candidates worthwhile of interviewing. I don't know, I guess how you guys wanna move forward, if you wanna review all 13 applications and try and pick 7, or if you want to just, I guess, go with the 7 that we identified and do a full round of interviewing with those 7. Maybe pick a subcommittee of this board to do the first interview with all 7, narrow it down to 3, and then interview the top 3 with the full board.
I think when Kevin hired you, Norma, I don't even think we were really involved.
Okay.
Kevin pretty much did the whole thing.
Okay.
We didn't even have a member there or anything, right?
No, just Kevin and Robin,
Yeah.
seeing what a good job they did.
We weren't
No.
involved with Norma, but we were involved with Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want my opinion, I just defer it to Peter and, you know, if you want to go down to the top 3, and then we can review them, but as far as I'm concerned, they're working directly under you.
Again, it's up to you guys, that's why I wanted to put it out there.
It's my
I'm happy to
personal-
look at them.
So in other words, have the top 3 submitted by Peter to the board? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just saying, if
Peter
we
and
want, if we
Jessica.
wanna get involved, it would be at the last step. But
Yeah.
I don't wanna get involved at all,
Okay, well,
that's what I'm saying.
I think we need to have a little bit of involvement.
Well, like Kevin came back and said, you know, we had to approve Norma for the job, but Kevin did all the legwork and narrowed it down to, I believe, Norma, right? I think, well, no, he had it down to like the top 2 or 3, then you came back for a second interview, right? Or was there a third interview or just 2?
Just 2.
And then I think Kevin recommended, you know, no,
When's our next meeting?
well, it's just, you know,
The 18th?
The 18th? Yeah, get it down to 3, I would say.
I mean, if he can't do it, what do we hire him for? You know, I mean, this is the whole point of his job.
Again, I agree with Jen, I think we need to have some input in it, rather than just say this is what you got here, which more than likely will probably agree with it anyways, but,
No. Do you wanna interview the top 3 at your next meeting? Or do you wanna create a subcommittee to interview the top 3 with myself and Jessica and present a final candidate to the board as soon as we can do that? I don't think we'll be able to get that done in the next 2 weeks, but at least for your first meeting in January. Cause Norma's last day is Friday, so she's definitely leaving.
I thought you said you could stay an extra week. You did say an extra week.
I can if you need me to.
Say that? No.
So. But,
I'm fine with working with you and Jessica and doing the subcommittee. If anybody else is
Yeah,
willing.
pencil me in there.
What I recommend is you narrow it down to the top 3.
Right.
And then the
Well,
subcommittee
I don't
jump on
mind
in the last 3.
interviewing all 7, if they've already selected all 3.
What's that?
No, I don't go along with anything you want, but
Or you,
I don't have an objection to saying all 7 or 3, or letting somebody else narrow the 7 down to 3. Some point, I think, this board should get involved. If it's just the last 3, that's okay too.
That's what I think.
okay, then I'll work with Jessica, we'll do that first round of interviews, try and have the top 3 ready for you on the 18th. That meeting might be a little busy, I'm not sure if we can do 3 interviews at that same time.
Should we do
Can you
it at a
do-
different time?
Hold-
It
hold on.
depends on your
Post it.
availability.
hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Robin, can we have an open meeting in, Hyrie on a union employee?
Absolutely. If you wanna do it on one of your off meetings and it's just the interviews, you
Okay.
can do that.
Alright, I just want, cause it's different, they're a union. It's
Can
not-
we do a phone interview?
I don't wanna do any interviews, but.
Well, I'm just saying, if that would help
Yeah,
expedite,
so-
no?
so
One
stop it.
phone interview.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
We can do off times.
Okay, so I'll see how
People's
quickly
schedule, but-
Jessica and I can get those first 7 interviewed,
Yeah.
get it down to 3, and then I'll check you guys' availability to do that final round of interview and hopefully narrow it down to a top choice.
Okay.
Excellent.
Are we gonna ask Norma to stay another week?
No. I thought she had stuff, she has her own stuff too.
Yeah.
She said she'd be
Maybe
available
just
if I
have
got
a
stuck,
house
she'd come give me a
recording,
hand, but
but-
she has her own stuff to
Okay,
do that next
all
week.
right.
I can still come in if
Come
See you
heck-
Monday. Just kidding.
Come heckle me through the window. So, I did have the matrix on there, but I have to pass, cause I added that after we put the agenda out for posting. So we pretty much covered throughout the meeting, everything on the matrix anyways, I think, we covered quite a bit.
I agree.
As far as the superintendent report goes, pretty much covered all that as well, except at our next meeting, Carl Storch requested to be on the agenda to discuss the request to discharge non-hazardous neutralized mixed acid. So I've been doing some research and digging into that. John Oatley is reviewing some of the information they're presenting to us. And next meeting, they'll be here for their MOR anyways, so John will stay, and we can have a discussion with Storts about what they wanna discharge. It seems like the commission.
Didn't we already give him approval?
No.
Yes, you gave them
Yes.
approval for 1,200 gallons a day of industrial waste,
When was this?
2011.
Yeah,
Yep.
when they first came in.
We took away the, biocide stuff.
Why are you smiling?
Cause it's not definitive enough to say
So
what,
why'd they come in front of the board in the first place? if they already had that from 2011?
Because they put the request forward and they gave us some samples of it, and it just, what they're looking to present, I'm not sure is gonna be good for the plant. So, we gave.
Which was John's finding when they sat here, John was here when they,
I understand, but again, we're still reviewing it and I'm just trying to understand, they're talking about 100 gallons per day, not 1,200, and how the concentrations of that 100 gallons relates to their 5,000 gallon per day discharge, and how it truly relates and how it's gonna impact the plant. And, I was just reviewing, it's just, like I said, looking through the two Storts folders that are that thick and what took place from 2008 to 2011, and what we're seeing for results of the sampling that's been done on that neutralized waste. It's not like you're just getting neutralized water, because there's also, there's high levels of metals in there that we're not sure how it's gonna affect or what it's gonna do. And that's why I'm smiling, because yes, we said to 1,200 gallons of industrial process waste, but we didn't identify what that could entail. So we don't know what we're getting now until they give us those samples. And now we say, well, hold on a minute, is this what we're gonna be seeing all the time, and how does it affect what we're doing? And yes, we charge them a betterment for that 1,200 gallons per day that they've paid, so they feel they have that allottage already paid for and ready to go. So it kinda puts us in an interesting spot, I guess.
I thought we already had this conversation.
They made their original request, I think, back in June, and you asked them for more information. They came back with more information, and I'm trying to vet that through John to try and understand what they have for precautions, so that when they neutralize this waste, we make sure we don't get a big slug of it, or that someone can't just open a valve and let the wrong type of pH fluid come into the system. So we went up there and met with them, and he showed us the process and the safeties and everything that was in place. And now we're trying to identify, after they treat it, where does it go? And we got more information on Friday or today from them about how it goes to their holding tank, and it gets pumped out at a certain time. And so we're slowly learning the whole process and how the sampling's being done and what's taking place. So John's still gonna review the more information, and hopefully come back to you on December 18th. Carl Stort's asked to be in front of you guys at that time to make this request.
So wait a minute, so we haven't been following up with them since last, what was it, last year or the year before?
It was
6
this
months
past summer.
ago.
Yeah,
It was this
And
past
they
summer.
were left with, to find out what exactly's the sample, whatever this neutralized waste is, and come back with,
I thought
Report-
they sent us samples, because they had to take samples for the person they were shipping it off to. They had samples, they had everything.
They pay $500 a week to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah, they would put it in barrels and a company would come pick it up.
but he couldn't, off top, when he met here, he didn't have any samples with him.
No, but I wanna say within the month or a couple of weeks,
I
they sent
get-
them down, they sent us down a whole bunch of stuff.
The original, it seemed,
I thought they were already moving
No.
along.
Can you just turn the clock back a little?
Hmm.
2011,
mhm.
when they were issued a permit, did the permit have parameters that we voted on, that we would accept?
No.
That seems strange, doesn't it?
Not that I could find. The permit I found showed I'm gonna say it was 8,900 gallons per day of sanitary waste and 1,200 gallons per day of industrial process waste.
Actually, it couldn't have been that, because that would have put them over 10,000. 89 plus 12's 10,100.
Boy, I'm pretty sure it was in the eights,
Okay,
because you took,
I agree, I think it's in the
I thought it was
eights.
7,600 or something.
May have been plus the 12, would have been 88.
maybe, I
Okay,
have it, I
and
pulled
then-
everything out, I made copies, so
And
I have a
then
little
we-
packet
then
going for
they were
Carl
charged
Stort's.
the privilege fee, and they were given their per privilege fee, they ended up paying the whole privilege fee off.
Correct, so you broke the
Yeah.
privilege fee into two parts, right? Because you cut their privilege fee in half
Because
for
they-
their
they put all the infrastructure.
sanitary waste, and
Right.
you charge them the full 8,200 per EDU based on the industrial waste,
Okay,
from what I could see.
all right.
Hmm.
But they had engineering here, or presented engineering as far as what they were gonna give us.
I'll look through some paperwork again tomorrow, through their files, but I don't
Okay.
recall seeing
Maybe check the minutes
seeing
as well.
that request.
Right,
Some of the
because-
minutes are tagged and it just references straight gallons. Cause some of the minutes are tagged in your authorization letter to accept it,
Yeah.
where the minutes just reference gallons and nothing to do with concentrations or what it entails.
Okay.
So,
So they've been still barreling it up ever since, or they've been?
yes,
Fair enough. Steve didn't say they sent him some information and stuff?
once I got hired, I got a follow-up request from the engineer, Carl Storts, to present this forward again, so I introduced myself to him, I met with him once. I went back again with John, and they brought us to today, so.
Yeah, cause it was only supposed to be like 100 gallons a day or something like that, right?
Well, it was two
Maybe
parts
100,
first.
200
The
gallons a
the
day.
neutralized waste was one part, and then the biocide,
Yeah.
the biocide, they definitely took off the table because of the RBCs and
Yeah,
the bacteria in there. So they took that off, and now it's just the neutralized waste, neutralized acidic waste at 100 gallons per day, ballpark.
and they got all the sampling and stuff, or whatever it is.
Yes.
So prior to them coming to the meeting, we have some
Yes,
data on it?
yep, I have a
Okay.
packet going for you, and pretty much I'll double check a few things next week, and I'll get it out to you before, as soon as I can, if you want, so you can review it.
I mean, to save everybody a step, is, John gonna basically recommend the IPP program before accepting this?
You know what, I don't believe so. I'm not, he needs, again, we got more information from them on Friday, so we met with them last Wednesday, I believe. We got follow-up information from the engineer at Storts on Friday, and John, sent it to John today for review. So actually, he sent it to me this morning,
Okay.
and John's gonna review it, get back to me tomorrow, so. I'll put together the packet and I'll forward it out to you guys with what I have so far tomorrow. That shows the dated letters of what was authorized when, and, the engineer's latest letter to me from yesterday.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Last thing, I forwarded you guys an email today about what happened Friday morning at the plant. There was out back, there's a power line next to some grates that when it got chafed and worn and shorted out, that one line shorted out the entire system at the plant, so nothing was operational. So Keith is working with an electric company to come in and kind of revamp that fuse panel or fuse board so that there's redundancies, so that one trip will not take down the entire panel and shut the plant down. Luckily, there was an electrician in the area. He came and fixed the fuse that was blown rather quickly, and the EQ tanks were low, so we didn't have any issues. But,
You sent 4 pictures. 3 of the pictures look fabulous, and then the other one was the picture of the cord that was kinda hanging out of the box.
right,
That's the problem.
but the one pitch, well, the problem is there's only one fuse to that entire bank of wires, so you need to,
Okay.
there needs to be some type of redundancy set up so that if one fuse goes, you
Yeah,
don't
they
lose
need to
power to
put
that whole
something in the
bank
middle there.
of power, so.
Yeah.
He's
Any
working,
estimate?
he's working on getting that. We'll probably have that for you for your next meeting.
Did they fix the, check valves and stuff yet,
Check valves.
coming out of the EQ tanks?
I don't know, they had to.
I just wanna let you know that, when the improvement was done to the plant down there, I think that was phase 3, that the electrical company was Litco. I don't know if they're out of Holden or out of Worcester. But, as far as, going back to the people who put everything in place, just for information.
I know it's late, but the planning board sent out a couple of site plans. I don't know how involved you guys wanna be in these. One is for the Elias Hanna building at 16 Sturbridge Road for the restaurant that they're proposing there, 8,500 square feet. It's currently connected to sewer. It's proposed to tie into water, a 6-inch and a 2-inch. That's probably more to do with Southbridge right now than us. I asked the engineer to provide us current sewer usage and proposed sewer usage for us to consider. When I get that, I'll present it to you guys. And the next one is for Kenny LeBlanc's property at 21 Worcester Road. That vacant building, they're planning on doing a used car sales.
Yeah, the old coffee shop.
The old Moonstruck,
Oh,
the old
okay.
barber shop.
Yep, yep.
So they're planning on doing a office there, and they, so I
Is
believe
there already a bathroom in there, Pete?
there must be.
Yeah.
They're connected to something, aren't they?
I think they're connected to the building out front or something like that.
No, that's.
That
bad.
one's, yeah, a little messy.
The long and short, just real quick, have they applied to us yet? Or they
It's
just
already
looking for
connected, so
comment?
I'm not sure if they,
Yeah,
if they don't need a building permit, they're not going to apply to us. That's why the planning board just sends these out to all departments for our comments. So I just wanted to put them in front of you guys to see what your concerns were. Again, as far as the Elias Hanna building at 16 Sturbridge Road, that's that building that's been vacant for a long time. They're gonna change that to an 8,500 square foot restaurant, supposedly. It's already been connected to sewer. They're not planning on altering that connection. But again, I asked the engineer to provide me with what their previous usage was, based on whether it was office or retail, and what their new usage will be, so we can determine what we need to do
yeah, cause that'll
to
go
be
up
able
big
to
time.
accept that. Water, as I said, he proposed a 1 6-inch connection for fire suppression and potable water. And I mentioned to him that might not be correct. You need a dedicated 6-inch line for fire suppression
Two.
and your own 2-inch line for potable. So he's looking into that, but
Which one's this? Which building?
Right at the junction,
Next.
169, next building on the right.
next to Joel
There was a
Checker,
sewing shop in there years ago.
in front of Larry McKissick's place. On
Oh,
Route 20.
Right by
okay,
Checkers.
yeah, the
Checkers.
old pool
Check-
place. Isn't
Yes.
there a
The
pool
old
company?
ideal pool. used to
Seahorse,
be.
yes.
Okay, yes. They're connected?
You gotta get a grease trap in there minimum. Got a common vic, he's gotta have a grease trap.
You sure they're connected?
Look at the utilities plan, shows it. It's coming out, that'd be the east side of the building, going towards Joel Checker's property.
And that's December 6th, correct?
Yes,
In fact, isn't there an easement on there that goes to the property in the back?
yes.
I was gonna say, it doesn't come into 20 though. It'd have to go all the way.
It goes to 20. They're up 20.
Cause we got a pump station on the other side, but I didn't think there was a sewer over there, because, who was it, when Ralph Nichols, he had, he's gonna hook up to that little road there on the side.
Griffin Road. That, for
No, what's the other one that cuts up by Du Bois there, the back one?
Oh, South Sturbridge.
South Sturbridge. They were gonna run it all over there, cause they don't have a stub on 20 or Griffin Road.
That shows it tied up to 20.
Maybe there's
Okay,
a force
the-
main there, but I don't.
The important one is,
Can I do that, Rob?
Sure.
that one's coming up December 6th, the one at 16 Sturbridge Road, so I'll comment on the additional gallons per day and let them know that we're gonna, if it's gonna be a restaurant, we're gonna require a grease trap to be installed.
I mean, we don't have a very big fogs program, but it's required.
I don't,
How many seats?
I don't know if it went that
grease,
far. at
grease
this time.
mitigation is a plumbing code on the inside of the building.
Yeah, so they'll have to meet whatever the plumbing code's in, and then
Whatever
it's
the plumbing codes
a
are. Then
1,000 gallon for us.
if they cross the threshold, then, and only then, do you need an outside grease trap would be.
I didn't say where it was located,
For
I'm
the-
just
yeah,
saying,
no.
you need a grease
Yeah,
trap.
they definitely need grease traps, without a doubt. And if you have a floor drain, then you need a grease trap. It's an automatic.
Floor drain into the septic system.
Floor drains in the floor.
Cause we made
Floor-
a Yankee, we
Floor
made a
drains
Yankee
can't be
Diner.
tied into a sewer,
We made a Yankee Diner.
unless it's a basement with
That was wrong.
with roof leaders that are tied into the.
I think it was wrong.
to that.
John and I
Some
had a big
roof
argument
leaders can be
with that.
tied in,
Floor drains can't be tied into the septic system?
in the sewer. Public sewer.
Into the sewer?
Yesterday.
Huh?
Yes, like in your bathroom, in the main floor, it's
Yeah.
all tied into the sewer. So if the toilet overflows, it goes in, so.
The basement,
what's
below
it?
grade, not in the first floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, you ever seen the tile bathroom in a public, you know, and there's a little
Yeah.
drain? Those all go into the sewer. Yeah.
Okay.
Treehouse says theirs tied into the sewer.
Yeah. Yep. Clean many drains in the road.
It doesn't say.
Well, it sounds like they need a little further along anyways.
Well, I just wanna make sure I have the comments to the planning board, just so they know. I know it's not nothing they really concern themselves with, I just wanna put it out there so that the owner is aware, and it's read into their minutes for their
Are
hearing.
they hooked up?
I'll verify, but I believe they're already connected, yes. Okay.
You people come to town, spending some money, it's good.
Well,
I think that does it for me. Sorry to keep you so late.
No problem. Okay, other business, unknown at time of posting? Good, next meeting, December 18th, 2017. Everybody good? Bring Christmas presents? And then, ready to adjourn? Should we make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second?
I'm just waiting to see if Alex has any comments on that.
You good?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To adjourn.